Hey, welcome. We're live. Mike Crawford, Young Jerks. Thank you for last night. We did a 4-hour show. That was fun last night. I want to thank everyone who was part of that last night. And I want to thank you all for supporting the show, the Young Jerks. And today we had another Karen Reed hearing. And so you know what that means. It's time for the 3Ms. Mark, Mazza, and me. Let's bring them up. Mazza Media.
What's going on?
Attorney Mark Bederow. What's up, guys?
How are you?
Good evening.
Good.
I'm not wearing a blue shirt today, so.
I know. I almost considered changing my background to pink. I got some pink bulbs now too, but I think I like the background. Maybe own the blue color for a little while, just to kind of troll the blue shirts today that showed up. What's up with those people?
Oh man, they came down looking to get all rowdy. Some of them went after Aiden with some confrontations that I forget the guy's name, but
Tony Fed or something.
Yeah, Tony Fed. He's like, "Hey, shut up, boy!" Oh, that guy again. I was like, "Oh my goodness!" He had people outside the court. Just after Karen went inside, and this guy is like walking right up to all these women that are free Karen
in the
Reed
face,
supporters.
yelling at women.
Yeah,
big guy too.
Oh yeah, he's like
apparently he's a fraudster. He defrauded a bunch of money, and that's why he hates Turtle Boy. Turtle Boy called him out.
Tony. Yeah, jeez. Turtle Boy called him on that too. He's like, "Yeah, I wrote about you once or twice, I think."
That's what it is. That's what the blue shirts are. They're the worst people. The people that will scam people and then show their face in public and yell at women. Think that's going to help their problems.
It's ridiculous. That same guy blew up at a WBZ. Penny Commit from WBZ. He snapped at her and basically told her everything short of swearing at her, and actually did swear at her. And this is the way they treat women. These people think that they got the moral high ground. They think because they're walking around with Justice for John O'Keefe, clothing that means something. You're really just anti Karen Reed. You're anti Turtle Boy. You're anti free Karen Reed. You're anti every single one of us. And that's basically what it is. We're Justice for John O'Keefe as well, but we believe the path to Justice for John O'Keefe is by going through Karen Reed being free. Putting Karen Reed in jail is not justice for John O'Keefe. You're just going to imprison a factually innocent woman. She didn't do it.
Yeah. There's not much more you could say than that. I mean, those people just look like a bunch of morons. I mean, let's be serious.
Yeah, they're just trying to start, confrontations with everybody, get into it with everybody. You had that one guy, it wasn't Tony Fett, but this other guy getting in people's faces. Chrissy Mello was a little bit weirded out by the guy, I noticed.
Oh, that wasn't Tony Fett? That was another guy.
Yeah, it was another guy.
Tony Fett got in people's faces too, though, right?
Right.
Okay.
He did. Yeah, he got in Turtle Boy's face and all that. That's about it. But it's just these people are agitators. Someone just said, maybe they're right. Maybe they're not people that think they have the moral high ground. Some of them maybe, but someone made a great point. Maybe they are just thugs for hire, because that commenter just said that makes a great point, because you sit here and you have to wonder when you look at these people, the way they were agitating today, the way that they've been getting in people's faces. What is their end game here? You had a woman that I posted a picture of on my page that's giving Turtle Boy the death stare. She looked like the Medusa from the 1960s or 70s monster movie Clash of the Titans. It's these people, they're just they don't organically believe Karen Reed's guilty. They don't organically believe that there needs to be justice for John O'Keefe. They just come down at another movie, Independence Day. They're just looking to get rowdy. I don't think they came down to earth to get rowdy. Well, he's wrong about that.
I don't want to date myself, but Clash of the Titans, I think, is 1980. That was Harry Hamlin.
That was a good one.
Was it 1980?
Okay,
that played on HBO quite a bit.
Yeah.
It was an HBO staple for like 5 years.
That was in the early days of HBO. That was on a lot. You're right.
Yeah. Oh man. But that's all they want to do. Like someone said, thugs for hire. I can't even refute that comment, because it's probably true. These people are coming down here, getting in everybody's faces, causing confrontations, and I don't want to call it the state police. They need to maybe break that up a little bit sooner, because there's quite a bit of agitation down there today, and it's what it is. But these people are out of line. They're out of control. They are the escalators. They are the agitators. And everyone on our side is trying to keep the peace. And Turtle Boy, you know, he responded to a guy today. Some people disagreed with it, but at the end of the day, that guy did confront him first, did smack talk him first, and you know, Turtle Boy was civil about it. So that's all I got to say about that.
It's interesting you bring up payment. You know, goons for hire, because I saw a post today. Someone showed us some posts from that Facebook group of the anti side, how they're trying to support the pizza shop. And one of the posts I saw was from Grant Smith Ellis, noting how Chris made him a special
for free,
calzone
right?
with
Free
bacon.
calzone.
Yeah, and I just thought, I know Grant, know how he is, and so that indicates to me that he went to D&E Pizza, and the only reason Grant would go there is to get a payment, because that's the kind of guy, like, Grant isn't going anywhere
Yeah.
unless someone's offering him money. I know that for a
Yeah.
fact. So
Yeah.
you know, so
All he's
what's going
missing-
on there? It's a good question, actually.
All he's missing is a T-shirt that says, you know, "We'll tweet for food" or something like
Yeah,
that.
seriously.
Shocking news.
Yeah. And then he told people to go to the pizza shop. It's just like
Oh boy,
unbelievable.
these people. I saw Mr. Freeze was down there today operating his own show. You know, the guy, Mr. Freeze, he lives in a yellow cottage. That guy is down there. Yeah,
with the bad audio.
Oh my goodness.
Supporting the Dr. Evil look today. That was
yeah. Oh man,
it's like the island of the misfit toys. It really is.
Yeah, but what did you think about court today too? Because I mean, that was the bigger story, I guess. We kind of get some idea of what's upcoming, right?
Yeah, I thought it was a joke. First of all, I think one of the things we had said a week or two ago, once the motion started flying back and forth, it was clear this is going to have to be dealt with. Why not issue a scheduling order off calendar? And if necessary, if you're going to say I'm going to hear argument in a couple of weeks, then shit can today. What's the purpose of today? I'll tell you what the purpose of today is. It's terrible for the defendant. It costs a lot of money. The lawyers have to get paid. You have to go, all that. It costs the taxpayers a lot of money because of the shit show outside, all the security, all that. Then you get all these groups of people down there to come together, and there's no jury, so there's no issue with the jury box. So what do you naturally do? Find a courtroom that's actually smaller than the disgusting one they tried the case in instead of the big one, which then deprives a lot of family members and people from coming in because they probably don't want to deal with it in the courthouse. Their attitude is let the riffraff, fight on the street. It's crazy. And then nothing gets resolved other than to really come back on August 9th. I mean, this was a perfect exercise in bloated, useless bureaucracy today, which, it's not like Massachusetts is not famous for that.
No doubt. And it's just like a lot of people said, it's a perfect example where a meeting could have been replaced by an email. Like,
what judges do on like a big case like this, where it's clearly going to be the same judge all the time, they contact the parties and they have a video conference, they have a phone conference, make a scheduling order, and just say, we'll come back on August 9th. And then we'll also either, or you could pick a trial date on the call, or we'll, she could have known about Yanetti's scheduling issues and, we'll work it out then. Instead, they all get hauled down today for a circus about nothing. And again, just a waste of time, a waste of money. It runs the risk, I suppose, of people confronting people for no purpose. It was just bloated bureaucracy, literally no purpose to today's proceeding, literally none.
This instant feedback comment on it said, Bev showed her bias when she was very nice and cordial to the new attorney.
Oh, I mean, most people should be nice to someone they meet for the first time. I don't know him, but he's obviously a well-credentialed veteran of the bar. I'm sure she knows who he is, and it certainly adds a certain gravitas. Not that they lack any already, but it's just another one to add to the collection on that side of the room. So, I don't read into her being polite to Weinberg. He certainly seemed ready to go. He had all his yellow sticky notes in the motion paper, so he looked charged and ready to go. But nobody wants to hear it today.
So the August hearing, what do you think is going to happen there? Is she going to decide? Or
I wouldn't read too much into her phraseology where she said we're going to have oral argument, because she could still say after oral argument, I find that it's warranted to at least continue in the process, which I think is the right thing to do, by the way, which is not dismiss the counts on August 9th, not yet, not deny the defense motion, certainly on August 9th. But I think this is why I think she's wasting time. There's clearly at this point a good faith basis to say we ought to explore this further and grant the defense and frankly the prosecution access to the jurors to see if there's a way to resolve this issue. Maybe you don't need a hearing. Maybe we can, the issue resolves itself. And she didn't do that. She just kicked the can down the road to say, well, I'll make a decision on the 9th. And if her decision turns out to be, well, I've heard enough to at least allow an inquiry, then all she's really done is wasted virtually all the month of July into the first week of August for no purpose.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, if she denies it, which I still think she'll do, just because I'm just at this point how I think she works, then she'll just deny it, and she's already ready to pick a trial date, which I'm not surprised. As I said previously, I thought the trial date, if there was one, would be way out, like months and months, which is actually really good for the defense. That's not what you want to hear. You don't want this to drag on, but when you have a client who is not incarcerated, which is the case here, so it's not like Karen Reed's going to be prejudiced by eating bologna sandwiches, for lunch and dinner every night. Even though you want this resolved, that time is such a huge advantage to the defense for so many different reasons. I think we've probably talked about the majority of them, and that also gives the feds a lot of time to kind of do whatever they want to do. And it also gives the jury pool for trial too a lot more time to consume and learn. And it's becoming, look, at this point, it's becoming clearer and clearer. They acquitted. Now you can fight over the semantics of, in a legal sense, because they didn't file a piece of paper, whether that requires anything. But everybody's favorite reporter in the past couple of weeks spoke to a juror who confirmed everything that Jackson and Yannetti said. Unclear if it's the same juror or a different one, but at this point, you've had multiple representations of this and nothing to the contrary. So I don't know why she couldn't have scheduled it off calendar and made a determination on whether I'm going to grant a hearing or not, which is the only thing she can do. I mean, she can't dismiss these counts based on the affidavits. So the only possible resolution on August 9th is going to be to let this process continue with an evidentiary hearing potentially, or just deny it out of hand because you waived it. They didn't sign the paperwork, the typical stuff that we assume she may very well do.
so again, I want to reiterate one of the things he said. The reporter that got the first interview with John O'Keefe is now the one confirmed. Right. She confirmed it, and people pushed back on her and said, how do you know that's a juror? And she's like, I was in the jury room. I talked to that person in person. I know they're a juror. That this is what they told me.
There's way too much. Everybody's seeing goblins in every window. I mean, there's also a lot of bad stuff going on in this case, but she's a journalist for a major network. She did a really bad interview with Paul O'Keefe. I mean, there's no question. That was not one that will be on the highlight film or when, people go to journalism school and they teach about how to do even-handed interviews. She kind of screwed the pooch on that, but okay. I mean, it is what it is. That doesn't make her corrupt. It doesn't make her all of a sudden. Today, she was just reporting straight news. I mean, I spoke to a juror. This is what they told me. I don't know why anybody would assume that she's literally making that up. And as one of the commenters is saying right now, this is what I thought would happen. They're going to just start going to the press and confirming. And it's probably after August 9th, if she denies it, it'll be more. But just because Christina Rex did a terrible interview, and she did, I mean, that was biased. It was amateur. That doesn't make her a bad person or even a bad reporter necessarily. And it doesn't mean that when she reports today that I spoke to a juror that everyone should not believe her. I think that's
I think
just too
those
much.
were McAlberts too saying
Yeah,
that to her.
of course.
which
Well,
is-
they don't like what they hear, so they assume it
they
can't
loved her
be-
before, now they don't
Right.
like her.
Right. That doesn't surprise me in the least bit.
But I think good for her. She actually did some journalism. I've been waiting for her
Yeah.
to do some real journalism
Hey,
finally.
listen, whatever you think of her, she got the first interview with John O'Keefe's brother, which journalistically is a great get.
Yep, that's a good coup for her,
And
but
didn't do
we
much.
didn't like the interview. We thought it
Right.
was weak sauce.
And then she got the first interview with a sitting juror, not the alternate. So say what you want, but that is two really good journalistic gets.
Mazza, do you have any comments or questions that you want
Question. Yeah. So a comment and a question. So for Mark, a lot of us were thinking that when the trial was going to go into its trial number 2, I guess I'll call it, a lot of us thought maybe October, November for the time frame. It's January, but it's late January, January 27th. Is that a little bit more extended than you think it should be?
No, because look at the logistics here. First of all, you have 2 defense lawyers from Los Angeles. That's a whole production in and of itself. One could even laugh and say it's an FU. I'm going to haul you out from California to spend early February in Massachusetts. Not exactly a great trade-off. But putting that aside, there are so many witnesses on both sides. I mean, logistics, it's hard. And she's also accounting for, the possibility of litigation on this issue, other things coming up.
Yeah.
I don't read into the date at all. And that
Yeah.
who says it even goes on January 27th?
That's
It may
right.
very well not.
Could go later. Like this one started, it was supposed to start weeks or a month earlier than it had, and it was denied. And I actually thought it was going to get delayed again, but it never did. So yeah,
No,
great point.
It all favors the defense. I mean, it does. Other than it sucks to have to wait.
Yeah.
But they seem pretty disciplined. They play the long game. I think if there's going to have to be a round 2, which I'm not sure there will be, but if there is, then they actually did well today with that date.
Yeah. That's good to hear. Well, that's good to hear. It's reassuring. Just something I thought was interesting because, like I said, a lot of us thought maybe the fall. Now all of a sudden it's the winter, and I saw our buddy Paul Christopher in the comments say it probably will start in March. And I don't disagree with that at all because, like we were just saying, that last trial was supposed to start on time, and then it got bumped back a month, and it's not out of the realm of question.
It also adds another interesting wrinkle. That probably, not necessarily, because everything gets delayed for one reason or another, that probably puts Aiden's trial in play before Karen's.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing for her.
Mm.
Now, another thing you were right about was Alan Jackson. It was confirmed that he's definitely staying on.
I don't know why anybody would ever think for half a second that he would never come back. I mean, look how that guy's wired. Okay. And again, if you do this for a living, you just love his style. You love his fire in the belly. I love it. There's a lot of certain similarities and certain things that I just like everything about him and his style. And if you think that people wired as lawyers who do this are going to walk away from this and leave a client in the lurch, there was only one way that he was never coming back, and that was if the defendant said, "I don't want you back," which was never going to happen. So beyond that, he's not going to walk away. He's not going to hold her financially hostage. He's not going to say, "I don't want to do this." I mean, one of the jokes that we've said as well, and this is not a criticism, this is how we all are. Lawyers have egos, big ones, and he wants a win. And when I mean a win, he wants to take Morrissey's face, rub it in the dirt, and then when he pulls him up, put his head back down and rub it in the dirt some more, and then on the way out, kick more dirt in his face. There's no way that he wanted to leave with a hung jury. No way. So I don't know. I don't know what all that discussion was, why people would even assume that. In some ways, I don't think it's fair to them. I mean, they have a team, they like it, it's going well. They didn't get a perfect result. I'm not sure why, but it also turns out that the result they got is a hell of a lot better, we know today, almost certainly, than even you thought the day it ended up in a hung jury, because it appears to be the case. We don't know this officially, but it appears to be that for all intents and purposes, she was acquitted on almost everything.
Mhm.
Here's a comment that keeps coming up. Mark, can you comment on what she meant regarding an appeal on her decisions?
Yeah,
on
this
the
is
motion to dismiss?
interesting to me. And, full disclosures, I'm not a Massachusetts legal procedure expert. So I actually have a call into someone to get some verification on this. But if the DA were to lose this motion, in other words, whether it's on the papers or a hearing, if the judge were to dismiss the first and third counts, essentially by entering in judgments of acquittal, in other words, granting the defense motions, they would have an absolute right to appeal. It's called an interlocutory appeal. It just means an appeal before the case is final. They would have an absolute right to do that. The criminal procedure law in Massachusetts, which I think is like Rule 15, which permits interlocutory appeals in very narrow circumstances for the defense, by my reading, does not cover this. Now, there may be some end arounds. I know they have this kind of really weird process where you can get another judge, if they're willing to hear it. But my understanding of the rule was it was only in certain contexts, which did not include this. So she did say if either side plans on appealing, or she basically assumed both would. I'm not sure what the mechanism for a defense appeal would be. As far as I know, there isn't. But having said that, I'm not a Massachusetts lawyer, so I'm going to find out what that is. But she is factoring that in to her timeline, and she's also basically saying that nobody really cares about what I say. At some point, there's going to be further litigation on this. Although my understanding is that the defense would not be able to do that. But in light of what she said, that at least merits, I think, further verification from a Massachusetts appeals expert. We'll find out.
We will
Gotta
find
be
out.
simple. Yeah, it's got to be simple. I mean, there's got to be a simple answer. It's not in that rule. That I can tell you. I mean, I know like New York has this various things you can do that are not considered direct appeals. It's almost like a civil proceeding against the judge who does something wrong. And I don't know if Massachusetts has that same kind of mechanism, if that's kind of what we're talking about. So I don't want to mislead people. I don't see it if it exists, but in light of what she said today, she's not dumb and she knows the law about what can be appealed and what can't. So I'm going to assume that there may be some mechanism. I'll get back to you on that.
It's another question that they want to know if those two counts get dismissed. Did the Commonwealth set a foundation for the other count?
Well, yeah. I mean, if there's a hung jury on count 2, you're going to be allowed to retry her for that. I mean, that's no, whatever the defense motion says about you should dismiss the whole case. This I can tell you, there is 0.0% chance, whatever the judge believes about the count 1 and count 3, and that she didn't properly get determine whether a mistrial should have been entered and this and that. Forget it. If there's a hung jury on count 2, they have a right to retry that. Now, whether they should is an open question. But see, I always think too, the judge, well, not the judge, but if this motion is granted, in some ways, it's really doing Morrissey a favor because they can't help themselves. They have the worst judgment of any prosecutor you'll ever see. And if this motion is granted by taking away the murder case, that's doing them a favor. They may not
Saves
think
them
so.
from themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It won't feel that way, psychologically, but practically, that's doing them a huge favor. And of course, the defense has already won because even if this motion's not granted, what is everybody talking about? She got acquitted on murder and she got acquitted on another count. And everybody who's going to be a future juror is watching, listening, reading the news, and is going to be subjected to another 6 months of this kind of media consumption. And they're going to know if they get potentially picked or called for jury selection, that another jury basically threw 90% of this out. So once again, they're already playing, chess versus checkers. They're winning already, whether the motion is granted or not.
That sounds good. Skies the neighborhood says, Mark, when the lawyers have to get lawyers due to the case, who pays for the lawyers?
Well, if you mean like lawyers because there's a legal issue involving the lawyer, if if it's people in the DA's office, you're paying for it. You wonderful tax people would be paying for Morrissey and Lally and all of those people. I'm not sure why any of Karen Reed's lawyers would need lawyers. They've done nothing wrong and nothing even remotely. They hired Weinberg because, in theory, you could have Jackson and Eddie could be witnesses if there's a hearing. If this issue is resolved unfavorably for them, then it's up to them, an open question about whether he stays with them or not. But I just assume they got him to handle this litigation because Alan and David would be witnesses. I mean, they'd have to talk about how they came into contact with these jurors and what they were told and that sort of thing.
There's a comment about count two. I would almost say question two. I'm so used to the what do you call those? The ballot initiatives.
Yeah,
I went to question two, but count two. I still don't understand count two, and I'm no dummy.
Me neither. I mean, it's hard to explain. I mean, the top count is, manslaughter while drunk, and then there's some lesser offenses of causing death while intoxicated. I mean, the common denominator in all these charges is being some form of intoxicated and causing death. It really just could go down to like recklessness and lesser mental states in terms of level of intoxication and that sort of thing. But the common denominator appears to be intoxication. And you wonder, once again, this is so convoluted and so tricky that if there are jurors who went down the rabbit hole thinking that it was kind of a hybrid DWI, or I guess in Massachusetts, OUI, they call it, operating under the influence type charge, which was not a standalone charge here. So even if they found her to be operating under the influence, they would still have to find the driving death, which, brings into play the whole ARCA thing that none of us who are sane anyway seem to understand.
Yeah, I don't even understand how they could get 8 people on that with ARCA, but
well, apparently, according to the reporter, they had 9.
Or 9. Wow.
In what she called a soft vote, which is interesting. That just means they weren't necessarily done.
Yeah, they were doing a poll.
They could have done more. Yet they said, we're done. We don't want to do this anymore. Read into that what you will. I'm not sure what to make of that, but that doesn't suggest that there were 9 people steadfastly didn't want to hear it anymore and could have gotten past it. The other way you can look at it, though, is I don't understand how 9 people could find a car accident, but 3 is actually still a lot to flip that they need to flip. And they couldn't do it in a case where they had their best shot, right? I mean, it's only going to get worse for them going forward. And 9-3 sounds like, wow, that's a lot. But 3 people to have to be turned and find guilt beyond a reasonable doubt based on this evidence is, that's harder than you think, I believe. So I wouldn't be disoriented or disillusioned by that at all. I mean, they pick another jury, they fine tune the case. I think they will lean on the ARCA more in the main part of the case, but I also think they'll have the opportunity to. And I think if they have the opportunity to talk to these guys in advance, you learn from a first trial. So you know what I think they do, or what I would do? Show them all this evidence that Lally wants them to see, and then have them say it doesn't matter and explain why. Go through all that. It's not going to impact their opinion because the science is what the science is. And, you could potentially ask them, well, what does it mean to you if there are 45 pieces of shattered taillight and it doesn't matter? And they may say, well, I don't know how it got there. I can't explain it, right? It didn't come from this. But what are they really telling you? It came from Proctor is what they're really telling you. So don't forget, they had no chance to prep those guys and let them know what was coming. And that's a huge benefit they'll get in a second trial. Huge.
I had a comment about Aiden in January, how they locked him up so he couldn't organize free Karen Reed support during the trial. That absolutely happened, in my opinion.
Is that looking forward, that question?
I mean, look, do I think that she adjourned this case?
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Specifically to have him tried and theoretically incarcerated first? I don't, because the reality is, first of all, I don't think they look into it that carefully. I don't think this judge is looking that far ahead.
Yeah,
I think
no.
to like the beach schedule and Cape Cod more than what's happening in January, as anyone would do. But I don't think that anything at all goes into that kind of thinking. And if you want to kind of go down that rabbit hole anyway, anybody who wants Karen Reed to be convicted and this and that, you don't want all of these people coming in and testifying. I mean, I looked at the indictments. We talked about this. I got copies of the indictments against Aiden. I wanted to look at them carefully for a lot of reasons. Okay. And so I looked at them for the first time, and it's like a who's who of witnesses who testified in Karen's case. And if they really want to prosecute him for these charges, I mean, he's charged with harassing Michael Proctor. I mean, let that sink in. I mean, you have to assume that count's just going to get dismissed out of hand. Like they're not.
And basically, what did he do? He called them up.
And he
I mean, that's it. He called them up and said, "Hey, call me back. I want to have you on my show." Like basically, like
the guy's a police officer. I mean, the temerity to complain you're being harassed with what you did. That's a whole nother conversation. Buchanan is a witness for being harassed. Are you kidding?
You said the last name wrong. You said the last name wrong.
Cocky. Jennifer McCabe, her husband. Who else is on the list? Julie Nagel. It's the who's who of all these people. And if
Grandpa Eclipse,
all of the, I mean, Alberts, I mean, Colin Albert's going to say, I suffered fear and concern about, this guy, as opposed to like, bang, bang, I'll fuck him up. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, I think they're kind of screwed, because I think when I read this question, I thought they were talking about when they first went after Turtle Boy and put him in jail. And that's actually what they were trying to do back then, is shut him up for the trial. But
I agree, but I don't think anybody saw it coming down to the
exactly. Now it's going to backfire on them.
Testify.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't. None of these people want to. Now they may tell you we want to testify. They don't want to be cross-examined about this nonsense, knowing that everyone's going to be watching, and then there's going to be a round 3 if this was round 2, at Karen's second trial. So. If the judge or anyone else was looking at how do we make this more difficult, you don't want Aiden being tried first. You want him being tried after. Because here's the other thing. Suppose Karen Reed got convicted, which it's not going to happen, I don't believe. But if she did, then all of these witnesses would be emboldened. They'd want a victory lap, essentially. And they would come in with a whole new set of confidence, feeling now we're going to get this guy. Not the way they're doing it now.
Here's one. It might be obvious, but from here, what do Karen Reed and her defense team get when we raise money for them?
What do they get?
Yeah.
Well, I guess legal fees. I don't.
Covers legal fees. Look at the number of attorneys they have, hotels, travel, food.
It's a disaster. I mean, look,
Xerox. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
Almost certainly. And again, I don't know what their fee structures are. It's none of my business, and I don't know. But normally, in a case like this, it would be flat fee. It's not necessary. It's not going to be billable hours. There's just too much going on for this to be billable hours. But the point is, just the expenses of getting to court, all the court appearances, all the whatever, it cost a fortune. They had to hire a third lawyer, a very credentialed lawyer, to come in to argue this. And, if this thing goes nowhere and just gets dismissed out of hand on August 9th, that's just more money spent for, I don't want to say for nothing, because it's not for nothing. Because they are getting value. I mean, they are telling the world she was acquitted, and don't underestimate the importance of that, even if they lose the hearing for, the second trial. But it's just the cost of this is crazy, especially when you have 2 out-of-state lawyers who are staying in hotels and transportation, food, law. I mean, just the expenses can just be astronomical on top of the legal fees. So it's an insanely high number. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
There's also a question: would the ARCA guys do more of a presentation?
I think they would. Because again, they couldn't talk to them. They couldn't show them anything. They couldn't do anything. You have to think, if it hasn't happened already, it'll happen, that the feds will lift the protective order or certainly restructure it and say they're fair game, including for the DA. I mean, it's not like a one-sided thing. And I think that they would really go much deeper with these guys. And who knows, maybe they would even try to do some of their, they have a lot of their video game is top notch, and their presentation game. Who knows? Maybe they would try to do some of that as well. But either way, they're not going to call these guys cold. They're going to know what they're going to say. And it's going to be, look, it was compelling the first time. Okay. Even the way they had to do it, it'll be much more compelling the second time, just because they're going to know what they're doing. And they're going to have the benefit of knowing what Lowley's attempted cross is.
Good question about Aiden. They want to know, could Aiden pursue TUI info for his own case?
Well, I mean, you can try to pursue anything you want. Whether the federal government has information in their possession that the DA doesn't, that they feel is favorable, exculpatory about him, they could. That's an interesting question, but I mean, I don't know what they would have or not have.
Another question about Aiden. There it is. This is about today too. I don't know if you know about this, but Mazza, you probably saw it. They're asking, why was Turtle Boy and LM's restraining order not enforced?
There's a lot of controversy with the cop today that was to the west side or the left side of that courthouse. Turtle Boy was walking across the street, and who was standing there, and he had a little bit of a spat with the cop. The cop was basically absolutely negligent about it, and they're just not enforcing this for whatever reason. I don't know if these cops are just, I mean, these cops obviously must know who the parties are, and they must have at some point decided that they're not on our side, because the way this cop was treating Turtle Boy today was absolutely outrageous, because he was making an argument. I get a restraining order. Turtle Boy ended up going to another cop and telling him, I have a restraining order out on this woman, and this officer is not enforcing it. He then went back to the original officer that gave him the hard time, informed him of this other, I believe it was a sergeant, had basically said that it must be enforced. And finally, the officer goes, well, I'll walk you past her. And then Turtle Boy says, you know what? No, I'm good. I'll cross the street and go the way you were telling me the whole time, because the cop is just wasting his time. It's obviously some of these cops, someone just said they don't care. That's clear. Obviously, they may even have some motive here or a side in this thing. I don't know what it is, but the way they're treating the things that have gone on. There was an individual, I won't say her name, but she was basically parked in the middle of this, in the middle of the street at a red light, sticking her middle finger out, holding it there for 20 seconds or a minute, however long she was at that red light. And a person that had a restraining order out on her was standing right there. Nothing comes of it. But yet Turtle Boy made a point to the officer. He goes, when I'm in court and the individual that has a restraining order out on me, they make me get out of there as soon as they're like, oh, you got to get out of here, man. You get out of the courtroom immediately. Your person with restraining orders here, got to go. It's a double standard. And it's clear that these officers, some of them at least, not all of them, some of them have taken a side.
Well, look, they're in a similar position, both him and Karen Reed, that they're not in a friendly forum. They're not going to get any benefit of the doubt. The running joke is it's Chinatown. It is. I mean, it's, all kidding aside, it really is similar to that. And they're going to have to punch their way out. And that's what you do. You get aggressive, skilled lawyers, and you just have to go through them, not around them. Literally, not figuratively. Figuratively, not literally. before I get.
Don't get us in trouble.
Yeah, no, I messed that one up. I inverted it. I inverted my.
It was inverted. It happens sometimes. You know,
It can
I know
happen
a Sally,
naturally.
I know a Sally Port in Canton where that happened one time. I'll tell you, it happened.
That's all organic. That just happened by the way of the world. But they just have to punch their way out of it, and they're not going to get any breaks. And you know what? I think he knows that, and she knows that, and you do it, and it is what it is. You're in a terrible forum. That's what you do. You know, you're not in a friendly court, which is normal. I mean, when you do this for a living, you're just kind of used to this. This is worse than usual, but you know, you're not a friend of the court. That's for sure.
A question come in. Are you joining Aiden's legal defense team?
Why do you ask that?
Let's do it. Let's do
I
it.
think they heard that you read his documents, so they just logically are asking that question, Miss Shorty.
I read indictments. We talked about it last week. I was interested to see what the statute is and what the charges were against him.
And he's got a great defense team. He's got
He does.
Tim Bradle, very good. It's a lot of questions coming in. Mazza, do you have any questions you want to ask before I keep going through these super chats?
Sure, yeah. Question for Attorney Mark Bederow, one of the greatest attorneys we know and love. This guy's the man. We'll get a Bederow chant going. If you ever represent Karen or Aiden, believe me, or the Canton Nine, we'll get a Bederow chant going. Believe me, I'll start the thing. We love you, man. Question for you is this. The judge today set the next hearing date to discuss basically the motions that are going to be discussed. She also set the trial date for January 27th. Mm-hmm. Is this unorthodox in the sense that the defense is claiming that jurors from the previous trial, I should say, came forward saying that they have basically declared a not guilty verdict on counts 1 and 3. Is it unorthodox for a judge today to begin booking the next trial date when there may be contention that's going to be discussed on August 9th? And just for some of us, a lot of us might theorize that basically, because this has been said online by a few people that are very notable, that it's almost an indication that basically come August 9th, she's going to say, no, this case is going to continue. Counts 1 and 3 are still active. I just want to get you to comment on that for all of us.
Normally, I would say that's the writing on the wall. Okay, if you're setting a trial date after a motion that is dispositive and you don't have that disclaimer language, like, well, you know, in the event I don't dismiss. But what's interesting here is count 2 is not getting dismissed.
Exactly.
There's going to be, again, unless the DA punts, there's going to be a trial. So I wouldn't read into that literally from that. Now, when she says, I want to have oral argument, that I found interesting, only because she doesn't like oral argument. She has 3 sets of motion papers, I think 2 from the defense, 1 from the prosecution in front of her, and yet wants them to, you know, articulate their positions. And, you know, I'm not a betting man, but when you have, you know, on the one hand, Weinberg, and on the other hand, Miss McLaughlin, is that her name? I would say that you know, that's going to favor the oratory skill, and all of that is going to favor the defense. But the real question is, I'm surprised she wants oral argument. What hasn't been said? And I'm hoping that what the defense will do is, you know, reiterate that the issue is not waived, but then really, instead of saying you should dismiss these counts, you got to focus on what could have happened here, and we need evidence. Because that, I think, to me, that's the credible ask at this point. It's not a dismissal based on hearsay affidavits, which it is. I mean, it's hearsay because that's all they can get. It's not a criticism. It's just a reality. The proper remedy here is to bring in the jurors and have them, all 12 of them, like a march of the chuckleheads, come in and tell us what happened. And at this point, does anyone believe that 12 out of 12 are not going to say, we acquitted? We just didn't know how to like relay that because, you know, frankly, you confused us. Now, interestingly enough, you have that other juror issue that's floating around, the one who, had to pull off the road because I was afraid I was getting followed, but I wasn't, and who then was citing really weird social media posts. I say weird in the sense, including someone who is very anti Karen Reed, but who has been deceased for months. How does that even show up? Or that Julie, whatever her name is, she's, one of those. Citing that stuff instead of citing original source stuff. So how does that factor in? I don't know, because on the one hand, you have to be careful if you're the defense about discrediting jurors, right? I mean, because if that same juror is going to say, "I voted not guilty," you don't necessarily want to discredit them. So it's just, I'm thinking out loud. There's just a lot of weirdness going on, and I have never seen anything like this. And you could ask any lawyer, how many times have you ever seen a case where jurors on their own go back to the defense and say, wait, wait, wait. And let's be honest, it's taken on a hell of a lot more credibility, even in the last 12, 15 hours, when Christina Rex basically confirmed it, at least confirmed 1 out of 12. So, and those jurors would not be saying that if they weren't speaking for the collective, because they're not going to, accuse each other of lying about this kind of stuff. So, is it weird that she set a trial date 10 minutes later to finally answer the question? No, because it's not dispositive.
Okay. Based on the fact that count 2 is still active at this particular. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That's something that was being questioned online, and I felt we needed to kind of address that and get.
It sounds bad. I mean, look, the optics of it, here's this huge issue, and she's saying, I'll let you talk on August 9th, then we need a trial date. The optics of that do sound bad, but but then she also says, like, I'm gonna, I know there's gonna be time possibly for an appeal. Well, maybe the appeal is for, the people that no one's expecting it for, because there are concerns. It's all tea leaf reading. None of it is probably warranted. You just don't know what she's going to do. But what she did not do today was deny it out of hand on the papers, which is a minor victory. There's this fire is breathing, right? She didn't put it out. I'm going to give everyone a chance to be heard and scream and yell. And the defense is going to scream and yell really effectively. I mean, this guy is really talented. I don't know him, but I know his resume and looked him up. This is no joke of a lawyer. This is like high-end appellate practice kind of guy who does these kinds of heavy constitutional issues and has a lot of support. And to me, the issue that the prosecution is focusing on is the wrong issue. And the same with the legal analysts who, the flyby ones who come on and just say, I don't think this has any merit, because they keep saying that, well, they didn't publish a verdict slip. But if you look deeper into what's being alleged, that's not in dispute. That's the whole point. The whole point is we didn't do it because we didn't know how to do it, because we didn't understand what we were told. There is a lack of a meeting of the minds between the jury instructions from the judge and the jurors. They're not saying we just didn't check it off and take our word for it. They're saying we didn't know what the hell to do. And that ought to scare the hell out of any judge or anyone who has a sense of justice when you're talking about possibly retrying an acquitted defendant. I mean, that's horrible.
We get a comment about the election. They're worried that the upcoming election will impact the FBI's pursuit of this case. I think more U.S. attorney.
FBI will not be affected.
What about the U.S. attorney? If they
U.S. attorneys are presidential appointments. It's customary that when there is a changing in administration, that certainly if it's a party change, like a philosophical change, that they would change almost all the U.S. attorneys unless there's a few reasons not to. On the other hand, so suppose I mean, I don't want to make this a political thing, but like suppose Trump wins, okay? You would normally think, just as a matter of Republican replacing Democrat or vice versa, that they come in and pick their own people. But that doesn't necessarily go down the ranks all the way, in the weeds. And a public corruption unit in a federal prosecutor's office is going to ferret out public corruption. Okay. And if you were dealing with something that was highly political, okay, like, a Hunter Biden type case, I would get the concern to say, if one side comes in, they're going to say either get him, or if the other side comes in, let him go. But what do you have here? You have an allegedly corrupt hack DA who has a state police running amok, planting evidence involved in other cases, other problems. I don't think that even a change of U.S. attorney is going to necessarily end this. They don't just like stop their cases. Now they politically can, but also, I mean, if you really want to go down the political rabbit hole, so suppose Trump does win, and then it's Morrissey. Is he more or less inclined to say, keep at it?
I'd say just as likely to say keep at it. A Republican versus a Democrat, right?
I would
Come on.
say keep at it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I don't
Yeah.
think that this is the kind of thing
It shouldn't be affected.
No, I mean, because this is not.
It's not political.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
This is corruption. This is like core corruption. Okay, you have a DA's office that has just an ethical stain attached to it for decades on multiple cases. You have a police agency that has just a horrible stain related to a lot of these things. The state police involved are actually encamped in the office of, in that DA's office. I don't think that just because the U.S. attorney changes that it goes anywhere. I mean, and besides, in this case, you had a different U.S. attorney, right?
Yeah, Rachel Rollins,
who I have nothing good to say about, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. But my point is, she came and went, she's got her own legal issues. She's kind of been disgraced. Okay, that didn't make the U.S. attorney's office look great for a lot of reasons. Didn't make the Suffolk DA's office look great. Forget her. But it kept going. I don't think this is necessarily going anywhere because of a change in administration.
comment about Bev said, "Good morning to Mr. Weinberg.
Yeah.
Nice to see you."
That's again polite.
Nice to see.
I'm not going to call the guy 007, but his reputation precedes him, right? He's a well-known legend of the bar, I'm going to assume, in Massachusetts. He's one of the deans of that state bar, and here
just because Auntie Bev's involved. Which bar more specifically? Sorry.
Margarita bar.
But and he's now joining the big case. It's another personality. This case is full of personalities, strong personalities. That's okay. It's no reason not to. And Andy's local, which will probably make her feel better.
Furious says there's a new impounded filing by the Commonwealth and that we get tagged on X.
A filing. Does it say what it is? Is it an affirmation?
Oh.
Is it a motion? Is it?
Let's see what the rest of the audience says here. They'll probably tell us before we can look it up.
I mean, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think Maz is taking a look. Are you taking a look for it, Maz?
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah. I'm tagged in so many things right now.
I know. It's this problem when people tag us. It's like, okay, let me find it in an hour.
Yeah. Someone can inbox it to me if they got it. I'll just take a look at my
inbox us. I think we hit most. I mean, we've gone through a lot of questions and comments so far. I'm sure I'm missing a few. One of the ones that came up was from Paul Cristoforo. This is a good one. He talked about another victim of this new trial is the Canton Nine. We talked about this because it's gonna get kicked down the line for them, and they still don't know if they're ever gonna be charged.
Well, I mean,
People just
again,
held up signs.
I don't know what their legal situation is, but at some point, if you're being threatened with a summons, you must have some kind of speedy trial right to either be summoned or not officially. And I don't know what the time frame is. I don't know, again, what the Massachusetts procedure for this kind of thing is, but it's. I mean, they were arrested when.
No, they weren't arrested. They were summoned.
Well, when?
And
When though? When?
Oh Christ! You know, Maz, I'd have to look
A
it
year
up.
ago, roughly.
Pretty much, I
6
would
months,
say.
a year ago.
I don't, tough to remember, but I would say less than a year. I'd say like 8-9 months ago at least, right?
So they were given a summons with a court date, presumably, right?
Yeah, they had a hearing.
Is this
Okay.
the?
I think
I'm so busy looking at my messages. This is the Canton 9 you guys are talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Yeah, that was last September, and then they went to
September,
court
okay.
over the winter time. This thing's been going on for like 10
Okay.
months.
So what happened at the last court
So
hearing?
basically, the magistrate took it under advisement, said I'd have a ruling or decide if it was going to proceed, and then
this
never
was a year ago?
nothing's happened. They just sat on it.
Well, I mean,
They said there'd be a ruling on a certain date, and it never happened.
well, I mean, then their lawyers need to push it. I mean, they have a right to finality and to know what's going on one way or the other. I mean, that's just wrong. That's not right.
I think I got what was talked about here. I just see that today there was a Commonwealth's motion for order and order are impounded, and that's what I was tagged on
Now,
about
what
an
would they
hour
want
ago.
in order for? I don't know. I guess we'll have to
know.
wait and see. I don't
Yeah.
even. I don't know.
Probably a buffer zone again. Adam O'Halley doesn't like to get yelled at or something. I don't know. Who knows?
I got it. Here it is. It's the same thing. Yeah. So it says scheduled event, jury trial. It's the same thing. Yeah. Commonwealth's motions for order and order are impounded. 384. It says next to it. That's it. That's all
Don't
we
even
got
know
on
what
that. No.
I guess we'll see soon enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not sure why it would be impounded, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Release the Kraken.
There's one. 2 count has to do with the amount of alcohol Karen Reed drank that night. How do you think her attorneys can get past the BAC level?
Well, the BAC level is not exactly reliable because it's this, conflated test working on probabilities based upon past consumption. And there are a lot of conditions precedent in order to rely on that. And I believe those conditions precedent come back to Michael Proctor in terms of him doing things, right? And it's similar to like the whole dog DNA thing. There's no canine DNA, but you got samples sent to you essentially that originated from Proctor. So, your test may be accurate, but is the integrity of the whole proceeding accurate if you don't even know where it came from? Maybe not. The other thing is they don't really know when and where she was drinking. It could have been after. It could have been when she got home.
Right.
She didn't testify, which is fine, nor should she. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But the point, Wendy, if you're listening, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a constitutional right, just like double jeopardy. But they don't really have an ability to prove when there was drinking. And if you're going to try to extrapolate a sample based on, alcohol gets processed this quickly over time, you need to know when was the last drink and that sort of thing. And they don't really have that.
They talked about how they thought she consumed, I think it was 9 drinks. And then at no point does ADA Adam Lally ever show any video evidence of that.
Good point.
Yeah.
Or what drinks? We don't even know what drink she had.
That's right.
This is another advantage of a retrial. Okay. They needed to hit that harder. Okay. And that's Buchanan and Proctor about let's count drinks and say, I'm not a mathematician, but I'm struggling how we're counting 9 here. And are we talking about, is that the same drink that was left at the bar? Do we know what that liquid is? It doesn't match the receipts. It doesn't do this, that sort of thing. And I think you're going to see a much more aggressive attack on that in a retrial for the very simple reason, what makes count 2 different than counts 1 and 3? Alcohol.
Exactly.
And what's
That's
the
the
one that
advantage
they're
they have
all
now, right? I mean, this
absolutely,
is
but
the
what's the
advantage.
one
They know what to fight now.
right? And they also know that the only count that either will be tried or at least was not acquitted once relates to all the alcohol, and I think they can hit it real hard. And also bear in mind, at a retrial, they're going to be gunning for Buchanan more, okay, because of the inverted video and some of the other stuff. And he's part of all this with the alcohol at the bar, and his credibility. I think you're going to see a much more vigorous attack on his credibility a second time through.
Yeah,
I think
that'd
he's
be
going
good.
to be essentially a proxy for Proctor, if you know what I mean. Like you're
Yeah.
going to be the sacrificial state police liar, okay?
Absolutely.
Because the reality is he doesn't have the text messages, liked a few of them. That's not what I'm talking about. But his ridiculous story about finding taillight pieces is every bit as crazy as Proctor's. His presence in the Sally Port and what he claims he saw and didn't see is every bit as crazy. It's some of his reports where, the McCabe's and other people are saying things that don't match up. So I think you'll have to hit him more.
Yeah.
I don't know what people mean if this is a Taylor Swift. This is the black dog on Martha's Vineyard. I don't know what.
I don't know how they come up with that. The
I
black
don't.
dog's like world famous for like a million years in
Yeah.
Massachusetts. I don't know.
No, right when you get off,
Yeah.
the boat there in Vineyard Haven. It's right
See,
there.
I don't even know where. I've never even been there, and because I know that sweatshirt. I know
It's
people
not a
who've
bad
been there.
restaurant, actually, believe it or not. It's like a tavern type old seafood kind of place. And when you take the over from Woods Hole and get off the boat, it's literally like right at the dock in Vineyard Haven.
See, I've never even been there, and I know that it's a restaurant because.
And now there's a few of them.
Famous.
There's one
Yeah.
in Faneuil Hall. There's one in
Oh,
Fountain.
see?
There it's kind of, you know what, actually, it used to be kind of like a cult thing. You know who made it like really famous beyond Massachusetts? Bill Clinton.
Oh yeah, of course.
When he used to vacation on Martha's Vineyard,
Yep.
he would talk about or wear a shirt from the Black Dog.
That's
Didn't
right.
didn't fit him so well back in those days, but I think he made it kind of a big thing.
That's how I picked up on it. I guarantee you. Mark, what are your thoughts after reading Aiden's documents?
I mean, I haven't finished reading them, but I mean, what are they doing? I mean, it reeks of trying to silence a journalist, and he's, in the eyes of some, obnoxious, aggressive, but that's what journalists do, and you're allowed to have an opinion. You're allowed to be obnoxious or not. And the charges that are against him are all wrapped up with this idea that it's because these people are witnesses, which I would suggest to you that the likelihood that if none of these people were witnesses, but they were of a journalist's belief or anyone else's belief that they were either involved in this or did other things, related to the case, butt dialing, Google searches, that he would still say the exact same thing he did. So when you prosecute someone with that added benefit or added element that this is because they're a witness, that to me, on the surface, is just fundamentally flawed. It's retaliatory. It doesn't make any sense. And to go take all his devices, that was to silence a journalist and probably to illegally look at source information. And when you start seizing journalist devices and things like that, you better tread real carefully, because that's a whole nother level of violation. And that appears to be what they did here. At least
Reminds me of what Russia is doing.
It's crazy. They don't like him. I mean, obviously, and you can just see it by the charges. I mean, having Proctor and Buchanan as complaining witnesses to witness intimidation. I mean, if you want to say that, Colin Albert felt he was, intimidated as a witness. I'm not ready to agree with you, but at least I can roll my eyes and say, all right, that's at least possible. I don't know that that's likely, but Proctor harassed because, his doorbell was wrong or he was called on the phone or whatever. And then this guy knowing what he did. I mean, granted, it wasn't supposed to be public what he did, but that's a lot worse than the conduct here. I also learned a little bit about some other cases in Norfolk County, which are classic witness intimidation cases that were not brought. And so when you start seeing more egregious conduct not being charged, but lesser conduct being charged against a journalist, then you start to ask yourself, well, why is that? It was brought to my attention. There was a case, I don't know the names, I forget. Sad case. The guy who died in the pool in Norfolk County maybe a few years ago, the football player. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think it was a police officer. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think it was at a house of a police officer. It was a college football kid or a high school football kid.
State police officer. Yep.
Right. He didn't know how to swim, bad. He drowned. It was terrible. And so you can understand why that person's family would be really pissed off. He died at this cop's house. And, apparently from what if I understand it correctly, one of his family members went up and
punched him.
But also about don't do this, in court.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking as open and shut by letter of the law witness intimidation, and they didn't charge, as opposed to, I'm knocking on Michael Proctor's door and he's embarrassed or whatever. So all of a sudden that's witness intimidation. I mean, this does feel like the Soviet Union. It really does.
It does. It's very not good.
No.
No, it's funny you said that too. But you mentioned that when you go there, you have to look at it like it's Chinatown. I felt that way when Mazza and I were there with the state police, kicking us off the sidewalk. It was I realized I can't fight these guys. I just have to move on because this is not the place to
there's an argument to be made that never works 99% of the time about selective prosecution. It's kind of a due process type argument to say that if you don't normally charge these kinds of crimes or go after people, but you do it against this person, and it appears to be some kind of retributive punishment because you don't like them, that, you could argue selective prosecution. And when you factor in that in the pool case, I don't know the name of the people, they didn't do that, but knocking on doors, yelling at people at a lacrosse game, telling you what you think of them by someone who's also a journalist, that warrants prosecution first under the statute, and it never happens. But when somebody says literally, I'm going to beat you up if you testify, don't do it, and you don't charge that, that's not right.
No. Selective enforcement. Based on politics, based on Turtle Boy hurt your feelings. That's what it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's troubling.
Amanda Capone had a question. When the defense filed motion for recusal, they said it was public perception of a bias. How does the public voice their perception?
By standing outside the courthouse, holding up signs, saying, I saw one today that was really clever. Double Jeopardy is not a TV show or a game show or whatever. That was clever. That's it. You use the First Amendment. You scream and yell and do what people were doing today. I mean, that's all you can do. What else can you do? You can't beat people up. You can't witness intimidate. So you use your voice and express concern. And does anybody in the Norfolk DA's office care? Probably not. But the public does, and it's helping the defense. I mean, because more people, there's more coverage. This is getting now much more coverage, even in the New York Post on a regular basis. They're not the best stories, as you can imagine. They're not in depth or anything, but the more discussion about this, what's the discussion about? That she may very well, if not indeed, was probably acquitted. I mean, that's not good for the DA after a hung jury, allegedly.
TMZ is all over it now. Harvey
Yep.
Levin says it's the biggest case since O.J. Simpson.
Biggest cases. That's interesting. Really?
That he thinks it is. That's what he said. He said, I think this is going to be the biggest case since O.J. Simpson.
Maybe. I mean, look, see where it goes the second time around, and of course, what comes out after. I mean, don't forget that because this case is not over, the muzzle is still on the lawyers and Karen Reed. That, you know,
Exactly.
when it's over and the muzzle comes off, and the documentaries and all that start, you know, then I think you're going to see a lot of things. And then also, there's a lot of wild cards here. You know,
That's it. Like, where does this go? Where does that
I
corruption
mean,
actually go?
what
is
happens
this-
to Proctor
yeah.
in the next 7 months?
Yeah.
I don't
Is
know.
there more? Is there more than just the text messages? I mean, that's what a lot of people speculate too on Proctor. Like, what if there's so much more?
Well, to me, the speculation about Proctor would be not so much are there more than text messages. It would be, are there other text messages on other cases, and is he compromising that? I mean, I just find it hard to believe, especially with his what I would call perjurious explanation, that he did this because he was just traumatized and upset, you know, 8 months later through this horrible, you know, homicide case. If that's true, then what about the real nasty ones he's handled? And if you don't think that high school chain, that there's more with those guys, what if there are nudes of that poor dead woman, or he's bragging about looking for nudes of that poor dead woman who was probably chopped up and sent God knows where by that lunatic Walsh. Alleged lunatic. I'm sorry. I should be fair. But the point
I'll
is,
call him a dirtbag. He did some art fraud, definitely.
yeah. Well, he is a convicted fraudster. That's true. It's just, look, you don't one day, as Michael Proctor in a case like this, just start texting everyone about all this kind of stuff. And he obviously has like emotional problems. I mean, his hatred for, you know, his masochist, you know, misogynist, not masochist, his misogynist approach towards her, that's got to be deeper than Karen Reed. It's got to be other women, whether they're defendants, deceased, witnesses. Given that he, you know, claims he texts his sister 6 times a day, and look at her going to bat for him the way she's embarrassing herself, agreeing with him about all this stuff about she should kill herself and talking about gifts and things like that. Do you really think that they didn't exchange other messages about other cases? I don't believe it. I mean, I would say the odds are very high.
There you go.
But if that's the case, who would have those? The feds.
Yeah. And maybe the state police. Maybe
the state police, but the feds for sure.
Here's a question that we've kind of answered a few times, but I just want to throw it out there. Can the AG or the governor step in? They obviously could, but will they? That's the better question, right, Mark?
Yeah. I mean, no, there's no political. I mean, the correct political answer is let the process play out. And then if Karen Reed was convicted, you would say, well, the system worked and, you know, a police officer was killed. And if she's acquitted, you would say, well, the system worked. And that's why we trust the jury, you know, system. They're politicians, right? And they're not, you can't win. You have probably, I would say the split publicly is like 90-10 in favor of Karen Reed or something close to it. I'm just making that up, but that's what it feels like. They're just a very loud, obnoxious 10%. But on the other hand, politically, if you quote unquote step in to dismiss the case, you run the risk of people getting to police unions and those types saying the governor of Massachusetts doesn't like cops and has no respect for a dead police officer and is just dismissing cases. And I don't know the political benefit of taking on those people either.
Absolutely.
So you let it play out.
State police is a powerful union in this
state. Right.
They endorse candidates and and not only that, a lot of the cops, especially the state police, but like Boston cops, the guys that make $300,000 a year, they write a lot of checks to politicians, like individually, not just the union. Like those guys write checks.
Yep.
So And they'll write checks to your opponent if you don't treat the cops the right way.
Totally. Yeah, no, they'll, I mean, they would come after the governor. The governor is not a friend of the cops. And I mean, and look at the cop wives and all them. I mean, look at them right now. They want to write letters to the governor thinking, Michael Proctor is a misunderstood, good young man. Can you please do something? And then the governor is not even going to read the letter, never going to respond to the letter, assuming they even write it, which is just silly. And then they're going to scream and yell and say she's terrible, but no one's going to listen. Nothing's going to happen. But if she takes a position loudly that this is, we don't prosecute the so-called cop killer, then I think, it's news.
The question from Mazza, they want to know if you're drinking from an evidence cup. That looks like a red Solo to me. Is there any blood in that?
Wegmans blackberry water tonight. Very
blackberry water. They, you know what? That's like a big question on here. They want to know what everyone's drinking. They don't ask me because I got the tap water.
No, you got the tap water. Yeah, I got polar seltzer, raspberry, limoncello. Yeah.
I'm kind of a water snob. I like to drink bottled water. It's one of my.
See, I am too. That's why I don't touch plastic bottled water. Like if I do bottled water, it has to be glass.
Oh, well, then I'm nowhere near the level of water snob you are.
See, that's why I like the tap water. Like no plastic.
Plastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is basically like hint. This is hint water, basically.
Okay.
But that comes in plastic too, so
There you go.
It's not cheap. Jeez.
Here's another one. They will absolutely be able to use the selective prosecution of Turtle Boy's arguments for them not enforcing the RO outside courthouse for him and the second journalist.
I mean, the thing you're talking about today, listen, I doubt it. I mean, it's too far down off the thing. I'm talking about something where you have somebody who, whether you feel sympathy or not, is undoubtedly threatening somebody because they're a witness, trying to intimidate and influence them to not harming you in court. That's witness intimidation, like of the classic nature. I mean, that's no different than, the old stereotypical wise guy walking around with a baseball bat and smacking somebody in the knee and said, "You forgot, right? We're good. We're good." That's entirely different than somebody running around asking, Jennifer McCabe at a lacrosse game, even though she doesn't want to be there, saying, "Why were you Googling, Hoslong to die in the cold? And, why are you people sitting with cop killers?" That may be obnoxious again, but if that's his opinion, that's not a crime, right? It may be unpleasant. It may be uncomfortable, but I'm not sure that rises to anything having to do with witness intimidation.
Oh, excellent. Anything else that we didn't touch on tonight that you guys want to get into? Mazza, you look like
I do. I got a question that was asked of me to ask attorney Mark Bederow last night on my show. So I had a guest named Katie Mark. She's been a guest on the Young Jerks. She was a woman that was visited by Yuri Bukake earlier this year. And essentially, she was someone that had messaged, I believe, Liz Proctor, and he was going around making a visit to her. Not once, but twice. Recently, he's done that again. Now, basically, what she asked me to ask you was just for you to comment on.
I got to stop you there. Did he come back again, like recently, like in the last couple of weeks, to her place?
Not recently, but
okay.
So he came to her twice. So the first time he showed up, she wasn't there. Then he came back the second. So those were the two times. The time where she wasn't there, then the second time where she was there. So just sorry, Mike.
Like April, maybe a March, somewhere a little bit after when they harassed him.
February, March range, yeah. And then we know the Walpole and Woburn lady that we found out about recently. So she said that number one, first part was, what were your thoughts on him doing this? And number two, when he visited her, he brought up confidential things about her past that were not necessarily essentially public record. They were not public. They were not public record. Things that were sealed, and she wasn't under investigation for. So what are your comments? I know it's limited information, Mark, but just basically, could you comment on what you think about this, even if it's a general answer?
Well, when she sent the message to Proctor's sister or wife?
Wife, I believe. Like, it
What was
wife,
the
wasn't
nature
it?
of the message?
A lot of people, I think, at that time are messaging her because she was messaging, calling people's jobs and emailing people's jobs. Was Proctor was trying to get them fired. That broke, and then I believe it was Turtle Boy that broke that article, and then I believe her and others actually reached out to her and basically addressed her for what she was doing. So I think in some sense they were essentially basically condemning her for what Liz Proctor was doing. Basically, was kind of the gist of
And
it. And
so the sergeant paid her a visit for what purpose? To
yes,
tell
To
her
try to get her to say Turtle Boy asked her
Right.
to do it. That's basically what it was. Like, that's his whole purpose, is to find somebody, anybody that will say Turtle Boy asked me to do this witness intimidation.
Well,
right.
here's what's interesting. So this person who texted the wife, was she arrested?
No.
Okay. Presumably because they knew there was no basis to do so. Okay.
Hmm.
And now he's asking her, did he make you do this?
Yeah. Who influenced you? Did you? Yeah.
And then he starts kind of leading into some possible skeletons from her past that presumably are
Correct.
not public knowledge.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's sleazy as hell. Obviously, that's designed to scare her, intimidate her, and coerce her into, playing ball, lest you get embarrassed by us and, we can do things. I mean, what would be tactically the interviewing technique other than to try to make her freak out?
That's
to
it.
say
Right.
that
You're
she
going to
doesn't-
get arrested for witness intimidation.
Right.
That's what he was saying to her.
They were trying. He was trying to get her to say, "Yeah, Turtle Boy made me do this," and this was happening. Now I remember when it happened, Mike. I got it now. She said this last night. It was like 2 days before Turtle Boy was about to get out of jail, and they were trying to get him on
So
something.
we
Yeah.
need to tell the judge he's still doing it, so let's keep him
Right.
in.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
They are here's the best part. He's a witness in this case. He is a victim, if you will, according to one of the indictments, right? That he harassed Buchanan. One of the most basic forms of cross-examination and discrediting a witness is personal bias, right? It's like the most classic motive to lie. I hate you.
It's like
I don't like
Proctor.
you.
That's the whole
Right.
thing with Proctor.
Right. So now Buchanan can be cross-examined with this, that as he knows Aiden's about to get out of jail, that he's running around
Right.
stirring this up
Right.
because he's so invested in something when he's telling us, I'm a victim. Now, he may deny it, and that may go nowhere beyond that. But if that's what he's doing, that's just disgusting.
I mean, can you imagine he drove from we know where Norfolk County is, let's say Dedham, right? Or Canton, wherever his office is. I guess it's in Canton, right?
Yeah, Canton.
He drove from Canton to Gloucester
Yep.
to interview this woman twice.
Right.
Twice. I mean, that ride is hell.
Yeah.
That is traffic. Like, can you imagine going up and back twice just for this?
Oh, thanks. Now, what's interesting, Mark, is that this woman that he had gone after, I think it was the woman that was in Walpole, if I'm not mistaken, or Woburn. It was one of those two towns. Well, one of these women ended up recording this, and he was saying all kinds of
Is this a
ridiculous
recent
things.
thing? I didn't really look at
It
this.
was, yeah.
there
Turtle
was
Boy broke it last week. Yeah.
All right. So what
He broke
happened
it last week?
Okay.
So now he does this again. He's going to two houses, one in Walpole, one in Woburn. Again, he's asking questions again. And this is what one of the super chats was about earlier. Is this another attempt to try to get Turtle Boy, in trouble again prior to a trial going? It's like they're going back into their old bag of tricks, which is trying to go to people's homes and basically get them to say, "Oh yeah, Turtle Boy made me do it." They're trying to find someone that is gonna just freak out and panic and just try to put it on Turtle Boy any way they can, so they can try to stamp it on him. So they're trying to do that again, and it's a ridiculous tactic.
Listen, I don't know what goes on with the Massachusetts State Police, in particular these Norfolk DA, goon squad guys. I don't know, but this is crazy. This is not how a police department is supposed to function. by literally running around doing whatever they can, spending all their time, effort, and resources on trying to jail a journalist because you don't like that he publishes video of you dancing at weddings like without a shirt on. I mean, that's regrettable. That's embarrassing, I suppose. But that's and by the way, that may be cross-examination too. You didn't like that. You hate him for that. That's humiliating. The fact that he calls you Bukaki and whatever. I mean,
that's how you say it, right? That's how you pronounce his last name, right?
Well, that's got to be because we heard it, I think, twice, didn't we? At the trial?
Right. Yeah.
That's what the McAlberts told me.
That's what they said. Yeah. Yeah.
The first time I ever heard it.
Then there was another time where Jackson called
a lot of people first time they heard it. Though.
He's like, I'm not Trooper Proctor. They said, no, you're not.
Proctor Trooper.
Do you want to watch? I got one of the Bukaki videos showing up.
Yeah, I actually would.
Yeah,
it's a quick video. It's not like one of the best ones, but it just gives you an idea of what these goons are doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, now at your door, Officer Bukaki.
By the way, why don't they just slam the door in this guy's face and say, I don't want to.
I know. This one did answer, which is, There is one woman who talked to him with a camera. I didn't get that one, unfortunately.
Who's this guy with him?
Officer Kelly.
Right.
Really protective.
We're leaving the jackets home so we can show off the firepower, huh?
Yeah, they're showing off the gun.
They got to make sure those things are brandished for the full intimidation effect.
Ring the doorbell twice. Knock on the door.
Yeah, just step in the flower bed while you're at it, Kelly. Yeah, those are flowers, buddy. Yep. Someone should just open the door and say, look, I told you for the last time, I'm not switching the spectrum. Get the hell off my property.
That's it. What was the other? You had another video too.
Oh, so I thought there was something where he was like talking to someone.
I don't have those videos, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the videos. These guys are just, I don't know.
Turtle Boy's looking for a link to jump on. You want me to send that over to him, Mike?
Yeah.
Sure, you got it.
Awesome. Let's see what he's got to say. We got time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got time. Yeah. Am I not able to grab? Oh, you know what? I'll grab the link from the chat. I'm used to grabbing the link from my own thing.
You want me to try to send it?
No, I got it. No, I got you.
Right,
I thought we were going to have some quality interrogation on.
I could look for it. Let me look. I think I have it saved somewhere. I just I wasn't prepared. I was thinking about that earlier. I just didn't get around to it. Yeah, I don't even have my bookmarks open on this one.
All right, I just sent it over to.
I don't think
Turtle Boy on his X page.
Do you have any more of the? You know what? Maybe Turtle Boy has it on his website, right?
Yeah, I got it on my page. I cut it up too from about.
Are you able to send me a link on it?
Yeah, I can grab it. Yeah,
all right.
Sure.
So maybe we will get it up here.
Wish I just edited it into the one thing there. Let me see. I got 3 of them.
Oh, Auschwitz is a little heavy. Come on.
So, was that the private comp? The other?
Yeah, so I was talking about like these guys are like, Auschwitz. That's a little strong.
Yeah. We got Dr. Turtle Boy up. Aiden, how you doing?
Hey, what's happening, Mike?
Oh.
Hey guys,
how you doing?
Good.
What's going on, Turtle Boy?
Nothing. Yeah, those. I have all the videos. If you need a copy of them, do you want me to send them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got them. I got them.
Oh, actually, I think Naz has got them.
Okay, if
yeah,
he's
got them
him,
coming over right now. Yeah, we got them.
Yeah. So, Yeah, I just started listening. I missed everything you guys were talking about before, but how do you guys feel about the trial date being in January?
It's a good
Yeah.
thing. When you're not in jail, it's a good thing for her. Very good.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the longer the better, right? The longer this goes on, the
Yeah.
more stuff that could happen.
Yep.
It can only favor her.
As long as she can stomach it. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. It increases the chances that a trial won't happen. I think we all know that the motion to dismiss is a formality. I don't even know why she's bothering. Like I said on Howie Carr, it's like she could have just dealt with that today, couldn't she have? I mean, both sides filed a motion, and then their response to the motion, they could have heard that today. But I swear to God, she wants us to come back so she could be on TV again. Like, there's no other explanation for why she didn't just deal with that today.
Yep, that's exactly right. I didn't think it was going to be so brief today. I thought she'd at least address that, and all of a sudden it's 2 questions and they're out of here. Then why not hold a Zoom call? What the heck?
It was like the juror stuff didn't happen. Like the elephant in the room that everybody in the media has been talking about for the last 3 weeks since the trial ended. She just pretended like she'd never heard of it before and didn't bring it up at all and didn't address it. And Christina Rex today has another person coming out. We don't know if it's the same juror. Honestly, I think it's a different one just because they said a different number, you know? They had a different number as for it was 9-3, this one said, instead of 8-4, which is also, by the way, just weird. Scary that like a plurality of people can think that can just ignore the ARCA experts and say, nah, I'm going to go with Joe Paul instead. That guy was sharp.
Actually,
about as sharp as a spoon.
But
thank God there were at least 3 that recognize science on, the ARCA.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier, Mike. 3 is actually more than you think. I mean, you hear 9-3, and that's scary because that's certainly skewed a certain way. But to have to flip 3 is actually more than you think, and they're never going to get evidence like that again. Well,
they said it was 6-6, and they did flip a couple. And one of them felt intimidated by the presence of Brian Albert in the court, So who knows? It boggles my mind because, we've seen the jury, right? They look like sharp guys, a couple PhDs in there, some smart people. And it's like, how could smart people be so dumb? And the only thing I can think of is that they frown upon her because she was drinking and driving. Like, that's all that can come to mind is just that, like, they don't like drinking and driving.
Yeah, and if there's a retrial on that count, they'll learn lessons from the first trial. That's the huge advantage of a retrial. They'll focus more on that. They'll address it. And again, it can only get better for the defense going forward. So this is all just kicking the can down the road. It's going to end the same way. It's just it gives more content for you guys, as it turns out.
It does give us
longer. I mean, I'm not trying to.
It was like when they said January today. It was like the groundhog didn't see a shadow. Like, 4 months of content. Let's go. There's never going to be a dull week either.
Oh boy!
It's like, for taxes, it's like for the new year.
Yeah,
seriously. Like, okay, you're spreading it over to the new year for us now.
Well, I was laughing earlier. I said that, now the California lawyers get to spend February in Massachusetts. So come on back.
Yeah. And how about the blue people showed up today for the first time. I shouldn't have worn blue.
Blue Man Group? No.
They were ratchet, man. That one guy that had to be like held back. I don't know if that's Matt McCabe's brother or something, or like what his problem was, but that guy was out of control.
Yeah.
A couple others, like Lorena Jenkinson, who's in a wheelchair, they got hit with a sign. I just retweeted a video of it.
Jeez.
Like these people, and then of course Krusty's showing up, and despite having 2 people there having orders against her, she just shows up anyway. And then the police tell Lauren and I, you can go around her. Like, no, I want to go from the fastest way to get from point A to point B. I don't have an order against me, neither does Lauren, and we have to go around this criminal here who is working with the Norfolk County DA's office, who bullied poor Mike back in January. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's just, you saw it on video today. Like, you guys saw my video, right? Where I go right up to the cop and I'm like, yeah, can you ask her to please to leave? I have an order on her. He goes, nope.
Yeah.
He goes, it's your fault. You're crossing here. I'm like, it's a crosswalk. Like,
right.
Yeah, I could go on that one down there, but this one's right here. So I went on this one. And I also don't have to explain why I'm doing it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like on February 26th, when I was charged with violating an order, right? Like I was there first, and then she showed up with the order to eject me, and I left. I did what I had to do, and I left. In this case, she stays, and the cops are like, yep, she can stay. It's the same police department that's charging me with it. Yep. And it's just like, are there any good cops left? Are there any like that are going to say that like, no. Like we need equal justice here. Like this person shouldn't get special privileges simply because she is aligning with police and district attorney's office. Like, but apparently they're just so brazen. They don't care.
Yep. You seem to sing a different tune though. After you went, I believe you talked to a sergeant, then came back. He volunteered to walk you down the street. Do you think he changed his tone at all?
No, that was a cop out. That was bullshit. Because I go, I'm walking down the street and I'm like, can you have her leave? And he goes, no. He said, no. He goes, but I'll escort you. I don't want you to escort me. I want you to do your job, and that's to tell her to leave because I shouldn't have to walk past her. If that's the logic, then on February 26th, an officer could have sat with the fake victim in court, right? I'll protect you. I'll sit with you in court. You know, I'll make sure you're safe. But instead I had to leave because that's what orders tell you to do. You have to leave. And I honored the order, and she didn't, and neither did this officer. And it's not his job to decide what orders he's going to enforce and judges do orders and cops, enforce them. And he didn't do his job. He decided that he was the judge and he wasn't going to do that today. So I'm emailing the chief of police about that. We're talking to Tim. I guess it could only help me in my case, I suppose, because according to the Dedham police, their official policy is whoever was there first has a right to be there. That's their policy, I guess.
Selective enforcement. We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. And that's what this whole theme is with Karen Reed. It's they have no desire whatsoever to enforce the law on anyone involved in not treat them like equally. Like all these people should have been, considered suspects as first and then ruled out afterwards if they had nothing to hide, treated that way, questioned in separate rooms and, videotape doing so, asked to hand over their cell phones, apply for warrants, all the things, go in the house,
go in the house. That would have gone in anybody else's house that had a dead cop in front of their house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They would at least ask, can I come in your house and look around? I had the fire department look at my house on Christmas because I had a fire alarm go off. And it was because I was cooking. They wanted to look in every room. I let them. I said, come on in, look in every room.
If you wore shorts year round, you might not think it's so suspicious to find a guy lying on the lawn with, one shoe and no coat on with a cocktail glass, knowing he was going there. I don't know. You find it suspicious?
How many times were you guys at keg parties, in high school or college or whatever, and the cops came?
Oh,
they just came in, didn't they? They just came in.
And they looking around with flashlights, every corner.
Exactly. They went in every room. If you were hooking up in the brother's bedroom,
on the door,
you gotta go. You're leaving with blue balls.
Seriously.
But they just won't go in Brian Albert's house for whatever reason. Okay,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
jeez.
Truth.
But at least they used actual evidence bags instead of solo cups when they tried to figure out who was throwing balloons on Rita's property, though, in Canton this time.
Wow, big improvement.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying that they're fake. That stuff's fake. That Rita did it. Rita Smollett. That's what they always did with me with the turtle.
Yeah,
with the turtle.
Is that what they're saying?
What was that?
They're saying she torched her own lawn.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the trolls say. That that's what are they? They're calling her Rita Smollett, and this because that's what they do. These people are vicious, man. They said that I did the turtle. These people are sick. Just sick.
They know, and the funny thing is, they know who did the turtle. They know as much as anyone else does.
I mean, I figured that out after a while. I mean, he was not first on my bingo card with that because I've never written about Stephen Cody. He's not content for my show or anything like that. He's just your run-of-the-mill psychopath out there. It's not even that sexy of a story. It's not a McAlbert. It's just this run-of-the-mill psychopath who was inspired for whatever reason to do that. But
They were the ones telling me who did it. Like, it's so funny because I saw them saying he did it. Like, I saw that. And
really,
yeah,
McAlberts were saying that.
pretty much. Like, even that Kate woman, Kate, she was like, Steve, she was like basically saying, like, be quiet. You're making yourself look guilty.
Oh, she said that to Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to get a screenshot of that. Oh,
Something like that. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something to that effect. Like, Steve, you're, yeah.
It's like
it wouldn't surprise me if they did egg him on, because that guy's crazy. Take it to the next level, Steve. Come on, go there and do something crazy. They wouldn't do. It just seemed like a long shot for a woman to do. I mean, that's a male crime, killing a turtle. But you never know who like inspired a psycho like this to do something. Maybe Yuri can go figure it out. You can go knock at some doors. I don't know.
We were talking about that too tonight, about him knocking on people's doors, like Katie's, and then now these other ladies. I mean, it's obvious what he's trying to do.
Yeah, and how about down the Cape? Remember that a couple months ago? We went down to the Cape to a woman's house. He was down there with Fanning, who, by the way, was in charge of the jury, and is the reason that this juror was removed on the last day. This very, facially pro Karen Reed juror was removed on the final day of deliberations because John Fanning is the one who reported her for something. Like, how is that not a conflict? This guy who is directly tied to this case is in charge of the jury. Are you insane? Like, this is madness. And I think Mark pointed it out too. It's just like with that juror, this anonymous juror who is so afraid, like, they brought up tweets from a dead person who's been dead for like 2 months. And so we're to believe that this juror just finished their civic duty and was like, you know what? I'm going to create a Twitter account and I'm going to jump right in the cesspool head first. And I'm going to subscribe to a dead person's account. And then I'm going to go watch some put together video from April that they put together. And I'm scared for my life now.
It was very weird too, because, lawyers prepare this stuff. Lawyers write the affidavits for clients and they read it to them and sign it, make sure it's accurate. And they didn't cite the original material. Instead of citing, obviously, a dead woman, that you're digging. That's from like May or April, whatever it is. You'd have to, with all the Karen Reed online stuff, you'd have to dig real deep for that. And then the whole Julie thing, you wouldn't cite that. You would cite the original source of the person you're claiming is doing the harmful conduct. So it makes me question whether the lawyer has some kind of interest.
Because that's my they just took stuff from my YouTube or whatever. And I have a much larger platform than Julie Carpenter, whoever she is. So wouldn't it be more logical to cite me as the source?
No lawyer doing this with the objective of getting the client the relief they would cite third-party wackadoo tweets as opposed to here's original content which we suggest is harassing or gives me reason to be scared. You would cut through the nonsense, and they didn't. And it just reeks of there's a reason. Not just amateur. They wanted these ones to be seen. That there's a bias there. There's something deeper.
An agenda
of some sort. Yeah.
I mean, how do you think it could have happened that like a juror, a juror who likely voted guilty on manslaughter gets off, and then all of a sudden they just jump into the Twitter cesspool and they're like, do you think it's any way that there's no juror that actually participated in this? Or do you think a juror just was scared a little bit and got a lawyer and the lawyer was like, we'll take it from here. We'll add the hyperbole.
Well, I mean, I can picture a juror saying, I'm scared. I don't want people coming to me. I don't want people knowing I was on the jury. I don't want to get all these calls. So you go get a lawyer. Is there anything you can do? A lawyer could say, yeah, we could demonstrate why you're scared. But the hyperbole and the histrionics in the affidavit were over the top, which is what, to me, calls into question a lot of it. These profound statements that we're all going to get beat up that's just a little too excitable. As opposed to the way a lawyer would write is to say, look, the client's concerned. There's a lot of, animosity publicly. You can see it's happening and we're concerned. That's not what they said. What they said was, it's only a matter of time before me and everyone else gets beat up.
And the best was her reasoning, the juror's reasoning, that Turtle Boy criticized the judge. And if they'll attack a judge, think of what they'll do to little old me.
Think about how many YouTube shows criticize that judge.
No, but
like
but
everybody,
a lawyer to write that. See, this is what I focus on: is for a lawyer to write that and not recognize the difference between a judge, who in this case is a quintessential public figure, and people live to criticize judges.
Yeah,
they get. I mean, that when you're a judge in a high-profile criminal case that's as highly contested as this, every decision you make, you're going to be called an idiot, no matter what, by a certain segment.
I heard, people on the street
about her. I'm not even saying I agree with it. I'm just stating facts.
Exactly.
They have called her, Auntie Bev because she's in bed with these people. They've called her a drunk. They've called her corrupt. They've called her a lot of things.
Crab walker.
But you're a judge. It goes with the territory. As long as you're not being threatened, right? It goes with the territory. For a lawyer to write an affidavit for a juror saying, if they're willing to say that about a judge, then what are they going to do to me?
They didn't say, what are they going to do to me? They said, we're going to get assaulted.
Do it, right.
Like it's a guarantee. They kept citing probability as if they're statisticians. Like, where are you coming up with these odds from?
No, it was not a well-written legal document, to be kind to the lawyer.
I can't believe it, but yeah, we'll see. Do you guys think the trial's actually going to happen in January?
I hope not. This thing just needs to be dropped.
I don't think there's going to be a trial. I don't.
Really? Why? You did before, didn't you?
No. I just think there's too much going on. Another 6 or 7 months is going to be that much more. I think they're going to have witness problems. I think they're going to have evidence problems. I think they're going to have problems where the defense is going to fine-tune a lot of things. They're going to do investigation. They're going to solve the Sally Port issue in the next 7 months, get to the bottom of that. I think the feds are going to give them more materials. I think they're going to loosen up the protective order, let them actually meet with the ARCA people and prep them the way they want to prep them.
What about change of venue? I think that's a big thing that's actually on the table this time around. And there's such a legitimate case for a change of venue now just because of the publicity this case has gotten. And now, no matter where you go in Massachusetts, there's going to be a lot of, whatever.
The only place you could go is like Springfield.
Yeah, Worcester, that would save me a lot of gas money. I'm just saying, like, there's a little courthouse in East Brookfield that's like, very quaint. But like,
I second that.
If we were to do something like that, like they got a pretty good argument this time around for change of venue simply. And I know that, you could say no matter where you go in the state, people are going to have heard of this case. Fine. But there are less people in Worcester County, or Hampden County that have followed this as religiously as Norfolk County. That's just
the problem is Worcester County is still Boston for purposes of media exposure. Generally, I mean, in terms of consuming, and really it comes down to, are you going to be able to say that you can't get a fair trial in Norfolk County? I mean, there's no basis to switch it unless that there's enough people who are just, I mean, you have to poll. They're going to have to do polling. That's what you do in a change of venue thing. You would literally do push polling and whatever, and you would submit statistics saying, we can't get a fair trial. Here's the other problem with the defense changing venue here. If you do push polling, what happens when 75% of the people say, yeah, that woman's getting framed?
She's not guilty. Yeah.
How are you justifying a change of venue with that kind of data? I mean,
I think that's the truth too. Like, I think most people think she's not guilty, but the problem I think with Norfolk County is like what Aiden said earlier, is like you have this cop who did the Corey checks. He's the one who ran the security for the jurors, and he's conflicted. Like, maybe could they bring that up as a reason to move it to another?
Should bring that up. That's crazy. I mean, if you can link one of the state police to being involved in overseeing the jury who's related to something. I mean, that doesn't necessarily require a change of venue as much as that's just bad supervision of the court process. I mean, that's a conflict, clearly. No one in the state police who's involved in the Norfolk cabal should be literally hanging out and doing security for the jurors. I mean, that's crazy.
Well, they did bring in a Worcester County jury for the Chestnut trial. You guys remember that? They bust them in every day because they said that a Norfolk County jury would be too biased against Michael Chestnut's killer. So they bust in a Worcester County jury that ended up hanging the first time around. And
That's interesting. So they changed the venue, but by bringing jurors into the hometown.
Yeah, so the jurors had to leave Worcester at 7:00 every day to get bussed into, and that was only like a 2 or 3 week trial. Like it'd be a much bigger commitment.
If you're gonna change venue, you move because it's not a home game for anyone on the defense side anyway. Not that anybody wants to like go to Springfield for a month or whatever, but
including John's family, like they're not going to want that's a burden on the
I'm thinking Lally and those people, make them pick up and move and welcome them to the party of how it sucks. I mean, I tried a case for 2 months in Queens. It's horrible. Schlepping out there every day, twice a day, and it gets you off your game. Your eating schedule gets screwed up. So bring them into the party.
Yeah, give Lally some motivation to finally drop the charges so we can all move on.
We'll have to find a new Dunks and a new bodega to, make it uncomfortable for everyone. But the reality is, I don't know that they want to change venue. I mean, I don't know that they can, only because the vast majority of people think she's not guilty. And it's funny because this case is so bizarro case. I mean, I was laughing the other day it's another one of these like coffin daffer, you just want to slap your head stories. She's talking about, all the pink people and they need a change of venue. And I'm thinking
agreed.
Listen how this works. Okay. The Norfolk County DA is not going into Norfolk Superior Court and saying, Judge, we can't get a fair trial in Norfolk County. That will never, ever, ever, if you didn't hear me, ever happen. And she's literally wants the DA.
Like the Red Sox asking to play the home games in New York. I mean,
right, yeah. Let's play in Yankee Stadium.
I'm the DA of this county and I can't get a fair trial in front of this jury. If that's the case, pack up your bag and go home and find something new to do.
So another funny story. So afterwards we went out and we got lunch, dinner, whatever you want to call it, 2:00 at the tavern in the square, right? And we're sitting there, and then 3 of the blue people show up, including one of them who I recognized was like, oh, I wrote a story about her. It was the realtor that from Ravis Realty, the blonde woman that came with Jen McCabe. And so they're taking pictures of me. I don't give a shit. I just keep eating. It was delicious. So we go up to leave.
Whole meal of food?
I ate the whole meal. And we go up to leave, and apparently I didn't hear this, but she told me that they started yelling at her that she was like, oh, you're a slut or something like that. And what were they saying to me? They were saying they were taught to me, come back, Turtle Boy. Where you going, Turtle Boy? I didn't hear her. And then I walked by. Of course, she drives a pickup truck, one of these broads. And I walked by her pickup truck, and she starts sounding the alarm from where she's sitting. And then all of a sudden, the redhead came out, and she was like the one that was like possessed. And she started like yelling shit at me, and I just blew her a kiss. I didn't know what to say, but they got real brazen there all of a sudden. It was weird seeing these people like usually these debates are online, but for the first time we saw these people in the flesh today, and they are exactly how you imagine that they would be online, like abrasive, offensive, like unable to control themselves, like Tony Fed, that guy that had to be held back.
That guy's out of his mind.
Dude,
what's the deal with him? He did some fraud and you exposed
So we used to be, so Tony Fed and I were on the same side of the, back the blue back in 2020 during the BLM shit. And when I went to Monica Cannon Grant's to protest for the first time at her Violence in Boston grand opening, we went down there and there was 6 of us. We called him the Turtle Boy 6. He was one of them. and we protested, and he was just too abrasive for me, like getting into fights with some of these people that I wasn't about, playing the air horn. I'm like, this guy sucks. So I couldn't hang out with him after that. And so then I found out that he was like, a lot of police officers contacted me, and they were like upset because he has this Back the Blue nonprofit in which he, collects all this money and doesn't account for it, and he got a free motorcycle out of it. Like, it was this whole story. Go back and read. His name's Tony Federico. He just uses this whole like Back the Blue thing to he was making money off of BLM the same way that Monica Cannon Grant.
He sounds like Monica Cannon, except
right. He was the antithesis to Monica Cannon Grant. He was making money off of the other side of it. He was just he doesn't give a shit about dead cops. None of these people do. If any of these people cared about dead cops, they would be on our side, because John was a cop and he got killed. And they're just like, yeah, we're going to stand here with the people who killed them. Yeah, we love cops. You don't. I mean, that's the whole thing about this. These people don't give a shit about cops. But that's my anecdote from there. It was seeing these people in the flesh was just, they were rugged, man. They were rugged. But we outnumbered them, and, our side was very peaceful, very calm from what I saw. I know I told people not to engage, and then I engaged a little bit, but I kept it, he was blocking my path. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but, for the most part, and I just blew him a kiss when I was coming down the stairs, and we just outnumbered him, man. Like, and that's the beauty of this all, is like we have so many more people on our side because we have the facts, we have the evidence on our side. And I was kind of talking to them. I'm like, are you guys in a cult? Like, they say you guys are in a cult. And I know you're not in a cult, because half you people didn't even like me 2 years ago. Half you people thought my politics were offensive. Half you people thought that like my way I went out about business was too offensive. But you put that aside for this one because you know that I'm right on this one. And like, that's how you know you're not in a cult, is that like you previously didn't really care for me, but yet you're aligning me on this one,
Right, exactly.
And what about them? We brought it up tonight. Like, do you think that some of them are being paid?
No. You've seen their clothes? I would hope not. They need to up the payment.
Maybe they got a free lunch out of it.
Dude, come on. No, they're not. Nobody on either side is being paid. I think people need to stop with that. Like, there's not. Who's paying? Where's the money coming from?
Yeah, there's a post from Grant where he's talking about getting free food from Chris Albert. And
oh, well, they have legitimately turned D&E into a welfare pizza shop. Grant put on a tweet today, and he officially called it a charity. He called it a charity. Imagine your business is so bad that Grant Smith Ellis has to turn it into a charity because no one will buy from. I mean, oof, that's rock bottom.
Jeez, that is rock bottom.
Well, he's telling the grand jury and stuff that like he's like, oh, there's people, Turtle Boy's costing me all this business because he's coming into my pizza shop. Or there's people with free can't read people shirts coming in my pizza shop, and they're saying, can I order one of those mediocre chicken parms? And I say, get out. It's like, so let me get this straight, Chris. Somebody comes into your store with money and wants to give you money for a whole meal of food, which no one else would pay for. Right. And instead of accepting their money, you kick them out, and then you complain that I'm causing you economic distress. Okay. Just making sure. Witness intimidation. Right. Okay.
Unbelievable. Chicken Parm Charlie.
Now, maybe if he wasn't a dick every week at the select board meetings, people would like him in his own town. I mean, he's not nice to people.
No. None of them are. They're very mean people. Like Jill Daniels is an angry person. Even though she's not really part of the story, she is like epitomizes what they are all about. She is the perfect McAlbert.
She's made the Macarena back in fashion, so
yeah, I'm getting more. We applied for the police report with her today. She got in that fight at the shipwreck there. The 911 call was shared on Twitter today. We got that, and it was they told the 911 dispatcher that this is over the Karen Reed case. So like whatever. Again, I got one of the things I got indicted over was a comment I made on YouTube where I said, Chris, I wouldn't go out anymore in public if I was you. Everybody knows who you are. Your head's always going to be on a swivel, and your life is normal is over, I said. And they play that all the time like it's bad. But that's just good advice. Like, because as you saw with Jill Daniels today, it's like these people keep going out in public and expecting different results. But it's like, no, you guys are too famous now. Like you're too well known as douchebags, and yet you insist on living life like nobody knows who you are, but they do, and it's going to continue to happen. And that's not on me. I'm giving you.
And then they mouth back too. Like that's the other
They
thing.
do.
Like if I was them and I was in public, like let's say I went out with my family and had a bad moment with someone, I would leave. I wouldn't start yelling back at them, but that's what they do. They're like,
I wouldn't park on the side of the street, get out of the vehicle, and snatch a cell phone out of your hand either.
That was
Like,
premeditated. Like she had to have seen it. She must have been watching it, and then she's like, I need a ride. And then her friend, instead of being like, no, that's a bad idea, is like, bitch, get in. And they just like, let's go. Should we park? No, fuck it. Let's just fucking pull into 3 spots, and then I'm going to jump out.
Seriously.
And what's the plan, Jill? What's your plan? What are you going to do when you get here? I'm just going to take his fucking phone, and then I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But I'm just going to take it because I'm mad, and then I'm going to yell at people a lot, and that'll show them that we're the good guys.
that's like stuff you would do when you were like 15 if you were a troubled youth.
I know.
Like, and then you grow up and you don't do that shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like, I don't know.
They never grew up, man. They
never grew up.
High school.
Yeah.
That's why I did the yearbook project. It's just these people are living in high school where Jen McCabe is still the cool girl, the popular girl, and all the cool kids became cops. All the jocks became cops, and it's like you can't make this stuff up. Like that town is especially. I know all towns have a little bit of that to them, right? Where like the good old boys in town. Every town has that. But I've never seen anything like Canton, where like 80% of the police department graduated from Canton High School, and they all know each other. And like this is the perfect town for something like this to happen in, because it's where you can get away with it.
So
Yeah.
stereotypical towny Massachusetts, and to be on display for the whole country, like the whole stereotypical masshole. I mean, this is just beautiful for the people streaming this to see. This is just masshole towniness at its best.
And you know how you know how many of them too, like generational, like Tommy Kelleher, the kid. I went to Bridgewater State with him. I know Tommy. I liked him, but his father was a cop. His grandfather was a police chief. So 3rd generation cop in the town of Canton. Like that's what's going on here a lot of times.
With the lieutenant colonel who lives across the street from Brian Albert.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
All we were missing in this trial, all the time they were talking about, White Claws and this, all you were missing was some testimony of somebody before they went to Albert's house saying, I got to go to the Packy and get some, whatever. It just really drive it home, because it's that town is nuts. It is different.
It is
It's
different.
a very nice looking
So
town. Though, when you go
incessant.
there, it's like it's
Lovely.
physically it's nice. It's a
Very
very
nice.
beautiful town. But then some of the people that make up that town, they're just totally out of their minds.
Look
I'm
at
traumatized by this. This is supposed to be
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts' world headquarters, and instead it's like
look.
Southie on the lower
Yeah.
Charles.
We played a video last night again from the Berkowitz retirement party. I love to reintroduce that because a lot of new people have come on this case. I don't know all the background. And his son gets up. Berkowitz's son gets up. Guess where he works?
He's a cop. He's a Canton cop.
See what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like all the select board have members of their family who are cops. It's like everybody has a relative who is a cop, and then the cops all have uncles or father who was a
Right.
cop. It's like it
Right.
just keeps going on. And so it's not even just like we knew each other for 20 years. It's no, my grandparents knew each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the most telling, that video of that retirement party. When I saw that for the first time, I'm like, it all makes sense now. Like they're all in there, like busting each other's balls, like busting each other's chops, joking around about, that time that Morrissey was hammered and he still parked his boat down the marina. Oh, he had a few pops, didn't he? And it's just like they're all laughing about it. Like it's all fun. We're all just kind of, we all bend the rules here. That's what we do. And then the camera pans over. There's Brian Albert and Brian Higgins tucking in his freaking short pants, like with his jeans on. It's just like this is it. That video explains everything. Like Morrissey, John Connolly gets up there. How about the FBI guy, Joe?
How about the
Joe-
chicken shit out of chicken salad? That was the
Yeah.
most strangest intro line I've ever seen in my life. I've said some awkward things, but John Conley, that was
Yeah.
He's up there like this. His full face is red. It's like
He always looks like that. He's like a burrito that's about to that you just overcooked in the microwave. Like boom,
And then-
it's about to blow.
And then a couple times they said, "Oh, we can't tell that story. We're on television. We can't tell that story."
But they did later on.
Yeah.
They did, and and it's just like, man, you guys are the kind of guys that would just let anything go, huh? I get it now. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. All you people have probably all done some shit that the other people know about that nobody else should know about, and it just all makes sense when you watch that, And it's not many women there. There's just a lot of the boys. They're gonna even Willie Gross, the Boston police chief. He spoke at that thing, or the FBI guy, Joe Giacalone.
Yeah,
about that guy. Interesting though. He was taken off shortly after that and replaced with Jody Cohen. And we know that the FBI investigation was beginning around then. And you have to wonder, did the FBI not trust that guy?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't trust.
I mean,
that.
the first thing he said is that
thing.
Berkowitz was the guy that introduced him to everybody.
That's what he said. That's right.
So it just
what
shows
is
you.
it with every
So
public official in Canton at some point or another running someone down? I mean, right? Albert killed someone, right? I mean, he literally ran over someone, right? Rafferty just mowed someone down, right?
Yeah.
And I read something years ago. Morrissey crossed the line, hit someone. So I don't know what happened.
He said he fell asleep.
Fell asleep.
He fell asleep. Hard. He said it was hot day, and he just ordered a pizza, of course, and there was 3, and he totally wasn't drunk or anything. Yeah, he didn't. He wasn't drunk or anything.
He wasn't at the marina.
I would assume he was drunk, but he claimed.
Why
he
would
just
you assume he
fell
was drunk?
asleep.
Crossing the double.
he was eating pizza in the car when he was driving. Okay, he was opening up the
It was
box.
a really hot day. It's like Krusty Penny's car. The AC didn't work, so he just was overheating. Like John Connolly when he put him in the microwave for too long. He just oh shit! It crashed. Oh shit! They all do, man. They all do.
So they all crash into people. Somebody in the comments says, there's multiple bodies found on lawns in this town.
How about that one too?
Yeah.
The Craig Casey one?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a different lawn. He was found, crashed on one lawn, and he was found dead on another, right? I haven't had time to really jump into that story, but everything's shady out of this town. It's crazy, but.
And then Helene Rafferty hasn't spoken in since August, it seems like. August of 2023.
Surprised she hasn't got at the select board meeting and done one of her self-serving rants again about how
that was the last time. Yeah.
She's the one who really got the ball rolling on that. It was before that, it was just some lunatics on Twitter, Krusty Panty saying witness intimidation. You're witness. Okay, sure. Yeah. Witness intimidation. Right. And then she got up there and she's like, this rolling rally that happened, which was a year ago today, this rolling rally that happened might have been a violation of chapter 268, whatever. I look it up. I'm like, witness intimidation, but you let it happen.
Yeah. You knew it was going to happen. You recorded it with those cameras.
Right. They set up
you didn't
cameras.
warn anyone.
So did I. I also recorded
and then they
it.
didn't arrest anyone.
I was so confident in the legality of it all that I recorded myself doing it. Just in case anyone said it was illegal, I wanted it on tape, so I showed that we weren't doing anything illegal. And then that's why when in the arrest video, when Tully's arresting me, and I'm like, so what is this for? And he's like, the rolling rally. I'm like, what? The rolling rally? But there was 300 of us. Why am I the and you're only
the only one?
I'm like, we all did it. I'm like
again, that's the same idea.
Selective enforcement. And she even said that, at that hearing, she called out 2, I don't know if they're appointed or elected, but they were on finance committee and the library trustees. And she called them out. She was like, these people have done witness intimidation, but she didn't arrest them.
Yep. She just wanted to shame them. It was Kathy McCormick and one other person, some townie people that do good townie stuff, I'm sure, and are serving on boards, volunteering, get called out by the police chief for supporting something, a political movement that the chief doesn't approve of. And by the way, the chief liked me before. Remember that tweet when I not defended, but empathized with Lindsay Clancy, the woman who killed her 3 kids, and I put a tweet out saying like something about mental illness or something like that, and she responded to it, and she was like, "This is great, like thank you, like this is awesome." I'm like, "Well, I guess you changed your mind, but you know." Anyway, I'm gonna get going, guys, but I just wanted to say hello.
Take care, bro.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
All right, keep up the good work. Talk
You
soon.
too. Thank you, Turtle
Take
Boy.
care, bro.
Later, Aiden. So, what are final thoughts tonight, or
The
anything? you wanna
videos
follow?
of Bukaki, some people still wanted to see.
Oh, you want to watch those?
Sure,
let's put those up.
I'm gonna grab a drink from the evidence cup if you don't mind.
Cool. Let's see if we can get these up. Actually, I think I have one up right now. Should I do them in order?
Yeah, top to bottom, I think was the exact order. That was the order. I think I copied and recorded them from Turtle Boy's page there, article rather, I should say.
No, I don't know which order I got them in. I'm just gonna play them.
Yeah, that's fine.
I got 2 of them up. I don't.
He doesn't make
They
any
might be
sense
even
when he
the same
talks
ones.
anyway. So
Is this one up? Yeah.
I'm thinking
there he
about
is.
information that's being, shared with you. All right.
See, I'm.
Again, So am I right or am I wrong about you learning that on the internet?
It was the actual people that lost their jobs.
You lost their job actually,
Absolutely.
and they said that to you in person or was it on the internet?
Why do you want me to say it was on the internet?
Because I'm asking where you learned this information from.
I think you know.
I don't know. That's why I'm talking. If I knew stuff, I would just write a report because I already know it, and I wouldn't waste my time talking to you. So I'm asking, did you learn this stuff on the internet, on social media, on some sort of platform, or was it in person from a loved one, relative, friend, acquaintance?
No, it was none of my family.
Okay.
And I believe it.
All right, that's fine. Listen, it's your right to
I
believe
have so
what you.
much to say, but I'm not.
Go ahead. Say it.
No.
Did you learn this on the internet? Is my question to you. You didn't learn it from a loved one or anything. You learned it from somebody on the internet.
Unbelievable.
Do you like the fact that I'm wearing a red tie with blue pants and a white shirt?
No, you could arrest me right now. Suppose I don't know the law.
Okay.
Right.
No, fine. I'm interviewing you about your actions. I could arrest you if there's a crime and an arrestable offense. We play by the rules, and there's strict
Debatable.
rules, policies, criminal procedure that we follow to the T. Okay. Just because you don't believe it doesn't mean that that's not fact. All right. So you saying that you're afraid that I can arrest you because of
Well, here's the last one. One more. I think
We play by the rules here. We follow the letter of the law. We're by the book, people. We are good, honest people.
So
you can't believe everything you
lucky the snowfall guy who it's true. And what about the scientific facts and experts that said John wasn't hit by a car? So, anyways, I know you can't get into it.
Thank you for that.
I really hope that
You can see the
investigate
gerbil in his head running around saying, "Do I get it to this Trooper Paul thing or just eat this? I'm going to eat
these
this
people,
one."
the McAlberts, when they do their harassing and
well, you got to report it, but you're claiming you don't trust the police.
because it's not.
You're
just not you.
reporting it. You got to report it.
I don't, and it's sad. Anyone find out about that Ford Edge?
I guess that's it.
I like how she mentioned the Ford Edge at the very end. Did anybody find out about that Ford Edge by anyway? I figured I'd ask you because you'd be the one to know. Jeez.
It's so transparent what he's doing there.
We play by the rules here.
What do you even say? Just what are they doing? It's like nothing has changed from what happened a few weeks ago and how they were exposed as kind of a clown show. And they're right back out there doing it as if nothing happened. And he's going to be right back out there in 6 or 9 months talking about evidence revealing itself. I wonder what he's going to say if he's asked when it revealed itself on the first day. I don't know. Why didn't you take out a little shovel and start digging for more? I mean, why did this take 2 weeks every day of, the power of God to melt the snow and rise the taillight pieces?
You would have had some more questions for
or what I might say is, I don't know, maybe the second day you found it, did it occur to you then to dig? No. The third? Not even the fourth. I mean, how many days was this? It was like 6 or 7, right?
You said you don't trust the police. I never said I don't trust the police. I said I don't trust you.
Exactly. I don't trust Bukkake. That's what I would have said.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
trust Bukkake. Bukkake's the stuff on the bottom of my shoe.
Did they say anything about talking to the Alberts, by the way, when that process was going on, where every day they're all finding taillight pieces? Did anybody say to the homeowner, like, are you aware? They're like, we're finding, or is this when around the time when Matthew McCabe was saying, they're digging in the Asian guy's lawn? Or am I screwing up the timeline here? I might be screwing up.
I don't know. Good question.
What a shit show.
I'm getting a question about Kelleher. I don't like to talk about this stuff. I did, though. But it says, Mike, do you say you went to college with Kelleher? I know his roommate from college who is also a cop in the Merrimack Valley, and he believes he lied about his Ring camera. I'm wondering who that is, because I probably know them, too. I don't know. I'm sure he's not being truthful. I mean, right? I mean, everyone assumes that.
It's a lot of untruths.
Yeah. Like I said, I like Tommy. I got along with him. Tom Kelleher. But I just think it's strange that these guys, like, third generation cop in the town of Canton. That's how far back things go. Think about that.
Well, you know what's crazy? This is a town that, what is it? Probably 35,000 people, give or take.
Yep.
It's not,
maybe less. Yeah, around that.
Well, I mean, it's not a town of like 4,000 people.
Yeah, no, it's a small suburb. It's
decent sized suburb.
Exactly.
With a lot of, 128 industry, out there, all that kind of stuff. And yet it's governed like by this incestuous small group. I mean, it's insane. They never.
Yeah, I think a lot of towns are like that too, especially like because you do have newcomers that come into the town, but they don't know anyone. You know what I mean? And so it's like you kind of have to work with that system when you move into a town.
I don't know. It's just crazy. It's not, it's not what I thought Canton was growing up. But I mean, what do I know? I didn't hang out there, but it's just interesting what something is and what you perceive it to be.
So I guess we're at the point where we're giving our final thoughts. Do you have anything that we didn't cover tonight? Anything you want to bring up? Mazza first.
Yeah, I'll start with. There's not much I hadn't brought up, but it's par for the course, unfortunately, with all this craziness that's going on. It seems like more of these blue people. I guess we're going with blue people. Turtle Boy was saying blue people a lot, so I think
I
that's
like
going to
the
end
blue
up becoming
shirts.
Yeah,
I'm all about the blue shirts. I think
blue shirts, blue man group,
blue man
blue meanie. Yeah,
blue meanies is another good one. That's
the blue pills. You can call them the blue pills.
See, that's too much. You get Democrats. Yeah, no, I don't like that one.
I
like
that,
blue shirts. I think that's hilarious.
That's
blue meanies.
Yeah, it's enduring. This is going to be very enduring. Like even today, I'm like, when I heard when the trial was going to be set for next January, I'm just like, oh boy, this thing's going to go and go and go to no end. I felt bad for Karen when I saw Karen today. I looked at her and I could just read exactly what she's thinking. It's like it's the first day of school after you've had a great summer and you just don't want to be back in school again. I remember being that way when I was in my teens. It'd be like, great summer. All of a sudden it's the first day of school and I'm pent up in a classroom all day. And it's just like, is school really back in session now? Can I not have my fun summer anymore? She was kind of that look on her face where it's like, are we really still here? Is this really still going on? Because they fought the good fight. Her defense team has done everything that they needed to do to prove with a reasonable doubt, essentially, that there's nothing here that she can be convicted of. And then you have this thing end in a mistrial. And it just gets to the point where you're just frustrated. And I can see it. I mean, I felt frustrated too. I'm like, is this really, because I really felt it today more than I have since this thing ended. It's like, boy, this thing's really going on again. And everybody, you know, Auntie Bev and Lally and all them are really just sitting here right now. Like, it's season number 2 and it's starting right now. And here we go again. And a bunch of hearings are going to be going on the next few months. And there's going to be a hearing here and a hearing there and jury selection here and jury selection there and on and on and on it's going to go. And hopefully at some point, these people just wake up. They probably won't, and make the right decision and dismiss counts 1 and 3 at least. And then we can just make this trial about this count 2, which I think has been, like we talked about earlier, is really the least of all the charges anyways. And it's something that basically is hard to even prove. So it's just something, this case just needs to go. It needs to end. It should have never gone to trial in the first place. It did. Now it's going to a second trial, which is ridiculous. They are bleeding Karen Reed's pockets. It's disgusting. It's sickening, and it's disgraceful. It cost her thousands of dollars probably today to just show up in court, and for something that could have been a Zoom call, that could have taken 3 minutes on a Zoom call, and everybody's called into court. People that were there that were Karen Reed supporters may have taken a day off from work just to be there today for a hearing that lasted 2 to 3 minutes. And like Turtle Boy said earlier, you know, they could have done some of the defense motions that they were contending about, basically what jurors were saying, gone over that, touched base on that, reviewed it, had her deliberate on it, because she's probably going to make her ultimate decision eventually in August anyway. So what's the difference if she makes it today? And it just seems like they're dragging this thing out. And it's sickening to watch. It's sickening to watch Karen go through it. It's sickening to watch her family go through it. And it's sickening for everybody to have to go through it. But we got no quit. We're going to continue to raise money for her one way or another, a double good popcorn or not. We're going to continue to raise money for her. And that's my story. And I'm sticking to it, to quote Colin Quinn from Saturday Night Live back in the 90s. Thank you.
And freekarenreed.net if you want to make a donation to her fundraiser, her defense fund. We're actually going to pin that. I just pinned that in the chat, so people can do that.
Thank you.
We had it pinned earlier for Aiden's defense fund. Now we have Karen Reed's defense fund up there. If you want to make a donation, check it out. Attorney Bederow.
It's a long time. I agree with you. It's not going to end for probably another year, give or take. And if you can get past the finances, which are terrible, I mean, this is going to be a huge financial hit, and the stress to her and her family and friends and all that. But if you get past that and you think of the long game and the ultimate goal, which is winning, if you accept the fact there's going to be a retrial, and there has to be for some reason, whatever the counts are, would you say that a January or beyond trial date makes it more likely or less likely of complete exoneration? And the answer is more likely. So if you look at it that way, with the big picture in mind, she's going to be fine. She's going to win. She's going to be free. Hopefully she'll get, the finances back. I mean, the sad thing is you don't get the time back, the stress. You don't spend maybe as much quality time with your friends and family, traveling, doing things.
Career time. I mean, she lost a couple of years in her career too. May not get it back.
Reputation, all that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, they're still trying to put her in prison. So, you need to win and then go from there. And today, believe it or not, advance that. It may not feel like it because it's so far in the future, but that 6 or 7 months to a group of lawyers that they have assembled, that's valuable time that they will use wisely, and it'll be over. But it's going to take time.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you both for being here, and Aiden Kearney as well. So thank you, Mazza Media. Follow on Mazza Media on Twitter and YouTube. You're doing good on YouTube. How many subs you got now, Mazza?
Still pushing toward. I might be hitting 8,000 soon. I'm still trying to push towards that 8,000 number, so I'm working at it. I crossed the 10,000 mark on Twitter a week or two ago, so that's really growing, and thankful for everyone that follows me. I appreciate the support, and we're going to all continue to be a voice for Karen, and we're going to have her back as long as this takes. It's going to be enduring, but we're going to have her back as long as it takes.
Thank you so much, Mazza Media, and you can also follow Attorney Bederow on Twitter at Bederow Law. It's also got the website, BederowLaw.com. Thank you guys for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it, sir.
Great
All right.
night.
Yep.
Take care. Bye.
And I'm going to read off the couple of the super chats tonight. Venmos. Oh, we got a super chat that came in that I didn't read yet. It was for me. He said, didn't see you. Didn't I see you advertise a get together at a North Shore theater? I kind of put it out there as a possibility. I got to follow up with them. I'm not sure it's happening. We'll see. We'll see. Is it about Karen Reed, a free Karen Reed, hosting another Halloween fundraiser in October? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a Halloween event, but we don't know. We don't even know if it's going to happen. We'll see what happens. I just wanted to see if people would actually come out. And I understand that people do want to come out. So that's very encouraging. Thank you so much. We'll see what happens. They also had a question. Also, what about Mazda auction fundraiser? Is that happening? You're going to have to ask Mazda Media about that one. I can't be the middleman for auctioning off my friend Mazda. As much as I'd like to do that may be crossing a line. We had some donations come in tonight. Deborah, she said $10. She said, Mark, would a bench trial have made this more favorable? He has answered that before. He thinks so. He thinks actually that they may consider doing a bench trial. So, yeah, he thinks that may be a good idea, actually. But he said, he also said if Bev Canone wasn't part of it. So I think that's kind of goes into the equation. Do you want a bench trial with Bev Canone? I don't know. But it is an interesting point, Deborah. The defense definitely has some choices. Are they going to go for a jury trial again? Are they going to move it out of the district? We talked about that tonight. Sandra also sent $10 tonight on Venmo. Thank you so much, Sandra. Okay, those are 2 Venmo donations. I really appreciate them. Thank you so much. And let me check the other one, the Cash App. Julie gave $20 last night. I missed it. Thank you so much, Julie, for the donation on the Cash App. And I may miss this one the other night, too, on Thursday night. Candace gave $5. Thank you so much, Candace. She said, for Morrissey for prison 2024. I want to thank everyone who's been doing the Cash Apps and the Venmos and the Super Chats and following us, subscribing. Here's another suggestion. Smurfs or Angry Smurfs is our top choice. They could be I like that, Angry Smurfs. Angry Smurfs. They could also call them the Blue Zombies. I like that one, Blue Zombie. Yeah, I wonder about this, though. We talked about the intent of having the trial in January. I wouldn't doubt if Bev chose that date because she knows it's going to be bitterly cold because she doesn't like the protesters. It's a good observation, Darcy. And Michelle, the one that asked the question about Kelleher, if you know the roommate of Kelleher, tell him to hit me up. Michelle, contact me at the Young Jerks on Twitter or Facebook. I'm just going through the super chats, make sure I didn't miss anything tonight. There are quite a few super chats again, over 50. Wow. I think I got most of them up. I think I did a good job tonight on them. Scott McGinnis, I really appreciate your comment. He's a Canton free Karen reader who is at all the standouts. Thank you so much, Scott, for the donation. He says, Mike, your channel and you have been fire, as my kids would say. Mark Bederow is so great. He speaks way more intelligently than I can. I say yes. Well, Scott, I think Bederow speaks more intelligently than pretty much anybody out there. Very good verbally. Very, very good at expressing himself. That's what a criminal defense attorney gets paid to do, right? All right, I think I got most of the super chats. I want to thank everyone. Thank you for the new members. I want to thank our moderators in the chat tonight, Stephanie, Jen, MJ, and Miss Shorty. Thank you so much. All right, I think we got them all. I'm just checking your chats. There's Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie. And if you missed some of this tonight, make sure you replay it. This was a good episode. I would check last night's episode too. It was 4 hours, but it was definitely a good 4 hours to give you a lot of perspective. We talked about some of it tonight. If you want to know what's really going on in Canton, last night's show was a good one. And tonight was too. We touched on a lot of the same material. So if you missed it, I would definitely suggest going back and having a listen. And thank you, everybody. You guys are so great. I'm not sure when we'll be back on our next show, but I'm expecting to do more this week. I think I'm going to have a former Canton police officer on the show this week, maybe. So check back. Make sure you check back on our YouTube and all that. And don't miss us. And I'm trying to get it back up on Twitter. I'm now paying Elon Musk for the membership, but I still don't have the option to stream on there, which is really frustrating. I want to know how long it takes for them to review us, to allow us to stream again. What they used to let us do for free on X and Twitter, he's now charging us to do. Billionaire needs more money. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week, a great rest of your week. We'll see you real soon.